Broadcasting from across all time and space, Battle of the Network Shows proudly presents the Season 7 BATTY Awards. Expect the biggest and brightest names of the 70s and 80s, and Yakov Smirnoff. Oh. Thrill at classic categories like Best Show, Best Episode, and of course, Outstanding Facial Hair. Squeal with delight when Charo plays a medley of the best theme song nominees, and pray that no one gets murdered with Jessica Fletcher around. Join us now for the Season 7 BATTY Awards. Battle of the Network Shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to the Season 7 BATTY Awards, finally.
Yes, hello everybody.
Using some help from a large-eyed man wearing a scarf and a funny hat, we're able to give you this award from across all of time and space, which means, many of our participants who, have passed on can be here. Or they can be here at the height of their careers,
That's really impressive.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I love it. This person with the eyes and, you're going to reveal that now?
I don't know his name.
Oh, okay.
I know his profession, but...
Okay. Who are you talking about?
Exactly.
Okay. It's not like a Rankin Bass character or anything.
No.
Okay.
We're excited, anyway, to be here, to be doing this. And as part of the excitement, we have not one, but two Listener Choice Awards, although there will be a wrinkle in both of those. So be prepared for that. And a lot of our usual fun categories. And a fun look back for folks who aren't familiar with the BATTY Awards. We like to look back at our previous season, award some of the actors and characters sometimes and objects who we thought stood out. And as always, it's about them. It's not about us.
No, it's not about us. And it's also, because it's been a while, much longer than usual gap in between the end of the season and these BATTY Awards, it may affect the voting process a little bit, I think, Mike. I think certain things that really stand out, they won't have any problem, but there might be some of these nominees aren't necessarily as fresh in the mind. I mean, they deserve to be here, mind you. But it might be more challenging for some of the lesser-known nominees this time.
Yeah, when we were looking over the preliminary list, I actually had forgotten a couple of these things. So,
yes,
maybe that explains some of the delay. We had some issues with the Blue Ribbon nominating committee. A little turnover there, but they got their act together. And
yeah, and I see it as an advantage. We freshen things up, get new blood in sometimes.
Yep.
And reinvigorate everyone involved, including me. I'm very excited. I'm excited to have our listeners back with us and looking forward to celebrating, as you say, not ourselves,
yes,
but celebrating all the great shows that we covered and even some of the not as great shows that we covered in Season 7.
I believe you had a little touch of BATTY fever earlier in the week.
I did. I decided to lay down for a little while and see if it would, just fade away, and it didn't.
Oh, good.
Actually, I'm actually still infected with it. I might be at peak BATTY fever right now, so it's a good thing we're doing this today.
And the symptoms of BATTY fever include hallucinating television stars from the 70s and 80s.
That's right.
And itchy toes for some reason.
Yeah, that's been a weird one that I've been coping with, but I'm gutting it out. So don't worry about me, folks. I'll make it through, I'm sure.
Now, if you're lucky, maybe your hallucination will include, one of those people scratching your itchy toes.
That would be nice. That hasn't happened for me so far.
Okay.
My hallucinations have been much more mundane.
You might have just been watching TV.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. This past week has been a blur for me because of the BATTY fever, so I'm not 100% sure. But I'm here and ready to make these important decisions along with you, and of course we'll also be honoring the decisions that our listeners made.
Yes, and in fact, why don't we get into that? And the first listener award is the first one on our list.
It is, and I'd like to mention in our Season 6 Baddies, we only had one listener award, but it was a big one. I don't know if you remember, but it was the Best Sitcom Ensemble.
Oh, yes, and we had a surprise win.
Yes, the Doobie Brothers won that.
Yes.
first of several awards for what's happening in season 6 Baddies. So let's hope we can get off to a good start with this Baddies here too.
Yep. We will have a surprise here, too. So this is the Listener Choice Award number 1, Outstanding Senior Citizen. So the nominees were Laszlo from What a Country, Cyrus Leffingwell from Murder, She Wrote, The General from Soap, Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote, and Sam Randy Andy Farragut from Pray for the Wildcats. And in an unprecedented situation for the show, we had a two-way tie between Laszlo and Sam Farragut.
Wow, I'm already reeling a little bit from that, Mike. And
Yes.
I do want to point out that because that we were dealing with a little bit of a compressed schedule with the Baddies this year with the circumstance and everything, in order to get the poll going, we limited the poll to our Facebook group, which is another good reason to join our Facebook group. You can get access to polls like this as well as all the conversation we have about TV of the era. But in the past, we've opened it up to some of our other platforms, but this time it was exclusively our Facebook group, I believe, correct?
Correct, yeah. So in Batty tradition, if we can't determine a winner, we have to go to the random number generator.
That's right. It's the only fair and scientific way to do things. So I'm glad we're doing it.
So, Rick, why don't you give me a minimum number?
Okay. Minimum number 29.
And a maximum number.
132.
Okay, and how are we going to even number will be Laszlo, and odd number will be Andy Griffith?
Yes, because Andy Griffith was very odd in that performance.
Yes.
And Laszlo's character was very even-handed on What a Country.
Correct, yeah. All right. So I'm hitting generate now. 114.
114 is an even number.
That's right. I'm also taking a screen grab of it, just for evidence.
Okay, I appreciate that. So, if I'm not mistaken, that means we have a winner.
We do.
I consider this a big upset.
I do too. Honestly, I was surprised that Laszlo was in the running at all. No offense to him.
None at all. I don't even think that his character was very prominent in the episode we discussed.
I don't think so.
But maybe there's a lot of George Murdoch fans out there. I don't know, but hey, the people have spoken.
Now, it could be, as you pointed out to me in our discussions before the show, at the time of this Pray for the Wildcats, Andy Griffith was only 51 years old.
That's true.
So I don't know if people's, personal ages, and they realized that they didn't want to, vote for someone possibly younger than them as a senior citizen.
Well,
but I think, Andy might have another chance of winning something.
Yes, I don't think it's the last we've heard of him.
No.
But I don't know how many more George Murdoch references we'll get on this show, but...
Probably not many. But, yeah.
He could be here, right? I mean,
as
far as we know, he's watching this. He could be here. I haven't seen him yet, but I'll keep my eyes peeled.
Well, our auditorium is quite a bit larger on the inside than it is on the outside. So,
of course, yes.
He could even be like in a different room, maybe enjoying the swimming pool or something. So
I hope he is, or some bocce or shuffleboard or something. So congratulations, and thanks to the listeners for determining the first of our 2 choice awards.
The second one will be back later in the show.
Amazing. Using the random number generator already. We're off to quite a start here.
Yes. Usually, now the other rule is we usually have a little bit of a timer, so I guess I should get that going to try to keep our discussions down to a dull roar.
Yes, because while we are going across all time and space, we do acknowledge that not everybody has unlimited time to listen to a podcast.
Correct.
So we will try to institute a time limit. And some of these deliberations, I can tell you right now, they're going to be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
As always, we've got some difficult choices, and maybe this next category might be one of them.
It could be, yeah. Why don't you introduce those?
We go from Outstanding Senior Citizen to, which was a first-time category, to a traditional category of ours, Outstanding Youth. And we have some good ones in this one. We have Raul from the Transformers, Trini, played by Ginny Ortiz from 3-2-1 Contact, Charo's kid from Charo. From Head of the Class, we have 2 characters, Simone and Eric. We have Billy, played by the irrepressible Jimmy Bayo from Soap. And we have Judy Jones from Yogi's All-Star Christmas.
And who won this category last time?
Well, last time, I thought this was a bit of a surprise, but Danny Cooksey, perhaps best known for Different Strokes, won for his guest spot on Growing Pains.
Yes, his heel turn.
Yes, he impressed us quite a bit. And so Danny Cooksey, I don't think he's here to to give out the award, unfortunately, but maybe he'll turn up later.
Yeah, he'll turn up in the final hour and a half.
Yes.
Right.
When everything's running out of steam.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I'm going to start the timer here, and I think we traditionally do like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on these, Mike? Anybody jump out to you?
As usual, a few people jump out as maybe for elimination. I think, I think the kid from Charos, he already won. He won life. So by getting to hang out with Charo for a while.
That's true.
I don't know that he can do any better than that.
Yeah, I think that was the high point of his career. I think we determined that he didn't have much else going on.
Right.
I'm fine with eliminating him.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want to eliminate Judy Jones because she was very important to that story, but she's certainly not my favorite youth from that episode. As you know, my favorite youth would be Augie Doggy.
Correct.
But she was important to it. So and mostly held her own with that menagerie of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they were all stars, I guess. So standouts, Ginny Ortiz, I would say, is a standout for me.
Yeah.
And I feel very conflicted about Jimmy Bayo.
Oh, yeah? I think that's what many people say. I think even a lot of people in the Bayo family have expressed that before.
Right. I enjoyed what he was doing more than I thought I would, but he is a Bayo.
He is indeed.
And he was.
With all that entails.
Very, seemed very out of place in a way in that show. I think we comment on that, like that he was like, from the Bronx and everyone else was from Connecticut.
Right.
But that was a part of the charm too.
Yeah, I think he had good moments, but I can't think of anything like particularly great that he did in the soap that we covered or in that first season even, which I watched. So I don't know. I don't think he did quite enough to win this award.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Sorry, Jimmy. Maybe you'll get another chance.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're in something else.
He might be eligible for an Outstanding Senior Citizen Award pretty soon, actually. So he's got that going for him.
Yeah. And I think that would bring us to we haven't eliminated Judy yet. We had the head of the class, the competition there between two people who adore each other sometimes.
They do, don't they? Yeah. That's a complicated relationship between those two, and I wonder if they're going to wind up competing with each other, not just competing with each other, but splitting the vote. The head of the class vote here might be divided among those two.
Yeah. I know out in the world, especially Simone has a special place in a lot of people's hearts. I don't know about Eric. I mean, Eric is one of the more memorable characters from that show. Mm-hmm. He's no Arvid, but he's
not.
He's no Jawaharlal.
He certainly is not.
Although he did replace him on the.
Yes, yeah. He had a pivotal role in the Russian quiz show episode that we did.
Yes.
So that's definitely in his favor. I think as far as for a specific episode, he distinguished himself more than Simone.
Mm-hmm.
However, as you allude to, I had a crush on Simone when I was a kid and did not on Eric. So that kind of is more in Simone's favor.
Right.
And we haven't mentioned Raul.
Yes, from the Transformers. Well, he's certainly a good breakdancer.
He is that. I don't think we have any evidence that anybody else in this category can breakdance.
No. I mean, maybe Jimmy Bayo?
I could see him trying it.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of in a furtive way. I think our time's about up.
It is. So, we keep going.
Do you think Eric would ever breakdance, or do you think he would threaten to break somebody who breakdanced in front of him?
I don't know if he would threaten to break somebody who broke a dance, but he would. I think he would stand against a wall with his arms folded and kind of smirk and maybe secretly want to try it.
Yeah, I think that seems to be Eric's MO with a lot of things.
Yeah.
He would have that ironic distance, but secretly would want to try it. So,
is there? There must be an episode where Arvid breakdances, right?
There has to be, or at least some kind of primitive rap.
Yes, right. Much like Yakov Smirnoff's rapping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to explore that another time, I think.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I certainly have a lean on this one. I don't know about
you. Mine would be Trini from 3-2-1 Contact.
I agree. She was great. She got the high-profile gig on that episode, and I think we did talk quite a bit about how great she was on the show. So,
and she hit the nostalgia button more than like Simone or Eric did for me. Maybe because I had forgotten her or forgotten, the people on that show. But as soon as I like heard her voice, it was like, oh yeah, I know where I am.
Yeah. And let's face it, Brian Robbins, he never really went away. He's been all over the place. So it's kind of hard to miss him in that sense. So I think you make a good point. And yeah, I'm fine with eliminating these other ones. And I would agree with Ginny Ortiz, 3-2-1 contact.
Yeah. Okay. Congratulations to Ginny Ortiz and to Science.
Yes. Both winners here.
Yeah, a win for Science. Okay, so the next category is one of our favorites and one I think unique to our show. Outstanding non-human.
I agree. I think the Tony Awards did that one year back in the '80s, but it didn't go over well, and it was never. They never went back to it. So
well, Cats, cleaned up with everything, and who would have a chance when you have an entire play full of cats?
Exactly.
So who won this last time?
Well, last time it was another award for What's Happening. Mike is the tape recorder.
Oh yes.
That Rerun used. To surreptitiously record the Doobie Brothers, that wound up winning for outstanding non-human. So
yeah, and that that makes it clear to the audience who might be new to this that the non-human really does mean anything non-human.
Yeah.
One time a nominee included a piece of wood.
It did.
Yeah,
and an illicit substance was nominated last year too.
That's right. So okay, I'm going to read these nominees and. Again, it's an award for outstanding non-human. We have the Hatchet from Prey for the Wildcats, the Daleks from Doctor Who, Davros from Doctor Who, Optimus Prime from the Transformers, Yogi Bear from the Holiday All-Star Comedy Classic Caper.
Yes.
Doggy Daddy, also from that same special, and Giant Clam from Doctor Who.
Ooh.
What a... Oh, I'm already dreading trying to decide here.
I already see a little bit of a mild upset here in the fact that just in the nomination stage, one might have thought that a cartoon or like say Transformers would have dominated this category. It's not a real surprise that a science fiction oriented show like Doctor Who did well, but to get 3 in the same category, that does stand out to me.
And none of them, they don't even include the TARDIS or the sonic screwdriver.
No.
Or Jelly Babies.
Exactly. No, all of them could have been considered. The one thing that jumps out to me too is the hatchet. For those that don't remember, this was the weapon that Andy Griffith's character wielded in Prey for the Wildcats when he was menacing the
hippies.
The hippies, yes, that offended him. And sort of, it was a very memorable scene and sequence. Now, sort of working against it, and this is partly my ignorance, is that I originally remembered as a lead pipe for some reason.
That's right.
So to me, that kind of works against the hatchet. The fact that I didn't remember it, it was a little bit overwhelmed by Andy Griffith's presence. The inanimate object itself didn't stand out as much, I think.
Yeah, I don't think the object matters as much as his menace.
Right. It was his animated performance that really empowered the inanimate object. So much as I love the hatchet, that would be one I would maybe eliminate.
I mean, it is terrifying to see someone pick up a hatchet.
Yes.
In a violent context, and probably more so than a lead pipe, although they could do an equal amount of damage. I think we can eliminate that. I want to point out also that we were talking about what didn't make it from Doctor Who. The Doctor didn't make it.
The Doctor, yes, he would have been eligible for this.
Yes.
I mean, he was eligible for this.
He was, yes.
Interesting decision by the Blue Ribbon nominating committee, but I'm sure they had their reasons.
Yeah, he fooled them.
Yes. What kind of bitter for him, probably. Although knowing the Doctor, the Fourth Doctor, the way we think we do from watching him on TV,
yes,
I suspect he would be rather bemused by having his enemies nominated and not him.
I think so. Yeah, and I can't imagine that awards mean anything to him.
No,
he probably doesn't care. So I can't even. But those 3 from that, I can't decide between them. I mean,
yeah,
the giant clam just sat there, but we got such entertainment from the giant clam.
And what a devastating effect, because he nearly killed Harry.
Yes.
One of the Doctor's companions twice.
Twice.
In the same storyline.
Right.
I think, Mike, this kind of gets to one of the things that we're always grappling with during the baddies.
Hmm.
And we try to give guidelines and have rules and everything, but there's some wiggle room we leave ourselves in the sense of, are we talking about the person as a whole? Or are we talking about that specific episode that we covered?
Right.
There can be a subtle distinction, sometimes not so subtle. I think that's why the giant clam stands out so much in this. I mean, many people might think, well, Optimus Prime
Yeah.
is an icon, and it's tough to vote against him for anything. But did Optimus Prime stand out as much in the episode we covered?
Well, he did. Of course, he wasn't in one of the episodes, but
Right.
in the other one, it was certainly all about him, kicking Robo butt and taking names.
True. I guess like the way I look at it is more not necessarily a career
Hmm.
achievement award, but I tend to zero in more on what we discussed, which is why I probably wouldn't vote for Yogi Bear in this one either.
Okay, because he's certainly an icon,
He is, exactly.
and Daleks are certainly iconic.
Oh, of course. They're one of the most iconic villains in genre television history.
Yes. Now, using your method there, though, I would say between Davros and the Daleks, Davros is more terrifying in that set of episodes because the Daleks are sort of proto Daleks.
Yes.
Whereas he's the one coming up with this plan and nuking places.
I agree completely. Davros was true menace, and it was kind of like the symptom of, or the syndrome of, he was the leader and seemed to be like the straw stirring the drink in that storyline. So
I am the
he seems to be
straw
like the
who
big one.
stirs the
Yeah.
drink.
However, if you ask me, who's more menacing, just just taken as themselves, I would go with the giant clam.
Yeah.
I mean, I like fried clams, but the idea of a big clam on my plate, it's a little disturbing to me.
Mhm.
The giant clam had more of an effortless menace in that episode, I believe.
Yes.
Davros was trying hard. The clam was just kind of sitting there, which is kind of like the genius of it.
Right. And then Doggy Daddy, again, I have to bring up Augie Doggy because I think they're a pair.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can nominate one without the other, or really. It's the interaction between them.
I don't know either. Apparently they did, but I hear what you're saying on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're leaning giant clam, it sounds like.
I think I am, because that seems as non-human as you can get. Whereas there might have been a trace of humanity in some of Davros's machinations.
Yes.
Some of the foibles that we know all too well. Davros was guilty of those.
I think he might have been a human at some point, too.
Yes.
A little sketchy on that. But yeah, I think that giant clam really, and the giant clam really only had this one shot.
Yep.
Davros and the Daleks, they come back again and again. The giant clam just stayed where it was.
Yeah, and not its fault, I think. It distinguished itself, and to me, that's a creative failure.
Yeah.
Not a performance failure that the giant clam wasn't asked to come back in another episode.
Yes. Do you think that, no, I'm sure it's the BBC, that giant clam is gone. But I was going to say, do you think it's sitting around somewhere in storage?
I sure hope not.
Waiting for another shot.
Yeah, I hate to stumble across it or into it.
They've had more injuries from
Yes.
people stepping in giant clams.
Yeah, they eventually just had to. I don't want to speculate as to what they did with it, but
Right. Okay, congratulations, giant clam.
well done.
We're on a roll here.
Yes. All right. Next up is the outstanding performances oneself.
Yes.
I believe it's my turn to introduce this category, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, for example, last year we had a distinguished group of nominees, but Gary Deeb won for his performance on Donahue. And he was a guest on a talk show, not the actual talk show host, which was Donahue. But this category can include guest stars, talk show host, variety show host, guests, just anybody really playing themselves. So you got a lot to live up to, nominees, with Gary Deeb winning last year.
Boy.
Bit of an upset, but I think we've got a good group here. And the nominees are Charo for Charo, Mike Connors, also for Charo, the TV special, Nell Carter for her NBC Let's All Be There promo, Henry Winkler for ABC's Still the One promo campaign, and Gene Schultz, who was the guy who presented the infrared camera in 321 Contact. I believe, too, Lisa, was the 321
yes.
Contact host that had that segment with Gene Schultz.
And his kid, Charlie, right?
Yes, Gene Schultz is a questionable kid who was hanging around, who just happened to be hanging around the set
All right.
when Lisa was there.
Yeah. So I've started the timer here.
Okay.
Maybe we can just go through one by one here. So
Sure.
Charo is delightful, of course. My one question with Charo is Charo being herself? Is she,
Ooh,
or is she being a persona?
you have instantly hit on one of the eternal questions of this category.
Yes.
Because last season I wondered the same thing about Gary Deeb.
Oh,
You know, he kind of had a larger than life personality on the set of Donahue, and I wondered if he was, amping it up a little bit. I thought personally it was Gary Deeb, but up to like 10 or 11. But Charo, there's, as we said, she's shrouded in mystery, Mike. So
she
I
is,
don't know.
yeah. There's the whole question of her age. I mean, in a way, we praised her for sort of figuring out whether this is her personality and just putting it out there, or figuring out how to use it to give her this career that most classical guitarists would not have.
Right.
So, okay. We'll just leave those questions there for now. Mike Connors, no, I believe I expressed some disappointment with Mike Connors.
I think you did.
Yes, because I perceived him as a tough guy detective type, and on this Charo show, at least, he seemed like a pleasant, wealthy man.
It seemed like the things that he did in that special, anybody could have done.
Mm-hmm.
There was one thing that distinguished himself, which I think he might be recognized for in a later category. But I agree with what you're saying here, that he didn't really distinguish himself as much in this special as Mike Connors.
Yeah. All right, Mannix, you got another conk in the head here. You're out.
Yeah.
So next we have Nell Carter from the NBC promo, and refresh me on what she was doing in this because we watched so many different NBC things. And
Well, I think in particular, this is for her performance doing the Let's All Be There song in front of NBC talent, executives, hangers on. And as I recall, she brought the house down.
she did, yeah. Now, is that the same one that had everybody else singing too, or that was a different one?
Well, I think she was in both of them.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what the committee was thinking in nominating her. I think she could be nominated for both because there was the group performance, and then there was the one that was more of an industry thing where she highlighted people.
That's right, yeah.
From various casts and encouraged them to get in there. She gave them shout outs, I guess would be the best way to put it.
That's right. And in the group one, yeah, Joey Lawrence tried to show her up.
Yes.
But you can't because she's Nell Carter.
Imagine trying to steal anything from Nell Carter.
Yeah, I would keep her in right now.
Yes, I agree.
And then we have Henry Winkler from the ABC, Still the One. And, of course, he's bearded and long-haired and just having a good time, giving thumbs-ups. And
yeah, he does very little in any of those ads except give thumbs up and smile for the camera. But, boy, what an impact he makes when he does that.
Yeah. Again, maybe I praised him on the show before, but for an actor to choose not to look like his character when he's in the off season. I mean, I can see him not slicking back his hair, but he went like a totally non-Fonzie direction as soon as he could.
He really did, and it fascinates me that he showed up for the shoots for the ad campaign like that too.
Yeah,
and they were fine with it,
right?
Or they put up with it.
Yeah, they when it's the Fonz,
yeah,
they probably didn't have a choice.
Yes, but as we said, that whole look with that hirsute, late 70s, early 80s masculinity.
Yeah.
He really had that going for him. I think he's got to stay in contention.
Yes, and of course we are in a Henry Winkler renaissance right now, so we'll keep that in mind too. And then Gene Schultz, who we've mentioned a little bit. He did a great job presenting the concepts in a way that kids and laymen could understand.
He really did. I feel like I could assemble an infrared camera from his explanation. It was so clear and concise.
Right.
That I really think I could.
Yeah. And we talked about how it's kind of quaint in a way. That back then it was this very complicated thing, and now, you can probably get an infrared app for your cell phone.
Yes, but I'm not going to penalize him for that, though.
No.
For his time, he was a genius.
Yeah, a groundbreaker.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So we've really only eliminated Mike Connors, and the timer already went off.
Well, I think I could eliminate Gene Schultz.
Okay, yeah.
As much as I enjoyed that, it was educational, but maybe not as charismatic. He was informative and incisive, but maybe not as charismatic as an entertainer as the other ones.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be controversial and eliminate Char.
Well, she's ubiquitous, and I'm glad that she got on the podcast. But this was a showcase for her, but it might not even have been her best work. I think she was better in maybe as a supporting role on like something like The Love Boat or Fantasy Island.
Right.
I think it's between the promo stars.
Yeah, boy.
It's just tough.
between someone blowing the roof off the dump and Nell Carter. Wait, no.
Yeah. All Henry Winkler would have to do would be snap his fingers and the roof would be blown off the dump.
That's right. Yeah.
I think he actually fixed the roof at Arnold's one time by snapping his fingers. It's kind of the reverse there. But, Mike, I have to be honest, one of the things that's going through my mind is I almost feel like I owe Henry Winkler a make good, or that we do, because we used one of the worst episodes of Happy Days when we covered the show, and one in which he danced. So kind of that's going on my mind. But at the same time, Nell Carter, folks, if you know what we're talking about, NBC Let's All Be There, then you have the song in your head while we're talking about this.
Yeah.
And her rendition of it was truly special.
Right.
But boy, Henry Winkler he was great. I mean, he just made you feel good. I guess one of the things would be was Nell Carter. She was singing that song, but Henry Winkler might have made me feel more like an ABC member of the family, which is kind of what they're building with those spots, right?
Yeah. That we're still the one. You're still the one that made us. Wait, they're still the one that made you happy. I can't remember now. They had some pronoun issues.
Well, you did it brilliantly at the time, which I'm starting to think you should have been nominated for your spoken word performance of the lyrics.
It was quite a season for me doing spoken word.
Yes, unfortunately, you're not nominated in this category, but
No.
you would have been competitive. Trust me.
Do we have to go to the generator? Do you think?
Well,
Or yeah,
I,
Winkler, the amount of charisma that he was able to get across without doing much of anything.
right.
He didn't even have to say a,
Yeah. He didn't use the catchphrase. I mean, the thumbs were there, but
Yeah.
no vocals. And Nell Carter, ooh, she did have vocals, but yeah, I guess I'm saying I could go with either one, but
Henry Winkler. Let's go.
I think that's good.
Boy,
It's good. It's not easy, but it's a good choice, I think, and well earned by Henry Winkler. Really, the big star of all those promos, and those promos had a lot of people going up in hot air balloons. So
yeah.
for Henry Winkler to distinguish himself really says a lot.
Yep. Moving on to another one of our favorite categories, I think, which we've had around for a while now. Biggest dope.
Yes. Now I will point out that we do not have biggest dope has not been in every baddies,
Correct.
including last one. I don't think we had biggest dope last time.
Okay. Yeah.
We did have biggest exasperation,
Yes.
but we did not have biggest dope. So it's taken a little bit of a break, which to me that makes this one all the more important.
Yeah. So the nominees here are Chester Tate from Soap, Jeff from Spider-Woman, and in quotes, The Hall from Miami Vice, Ronson, the scientist in Doctor Who tried to turn babyface, and Professor Radford, Larry Linville, from Murder, She Wrote.
Wow, this is quite a group again. Now, and traditionally, biggest dope has been somebody who maybe sort of a bad guy, but really sort of maybe more along the lines of someone that deserves scorn or ridicule.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Sometimes it's a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had any dumb kids, really.
No, and looking at the list, Ronson stands out. He was a very intelligent man. I mean, he was a scientist, but he had an ill-fated attempt to help the Doctor and his companions, and it just seemed like he was 2 or 3 steps behind everybody all along the way. So I think that's why he's in here. I feel a little sorry for him, though. I mean, he turned out to seemed like a fairly decent sort, so I think I might eliminate him first.
Okay. Yeah, and he never was able to go quite as far as he needed to. He was
No.
He would make make sort of agreements that seemed great to him that sounded terrible still, and then got lasered.
Yeah, he was dopey. He was somehow too dopey and not dopey enough.
Yeah. I would eliminate him too.
I'll tell you one thing that stands out to me. If you would have told me when we started this podcast that one way or another that cocaine would be nominated 2 years in a row in these awards, I would be very surprised. But I think that's kind of what we're talking about with Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And boy, it was a big haul of dope for sure.
We should have looked this up. I should have. How much do we remember? What the weight of that was?
I don't. And another thing that I don't remember, this is, by the way, was from the episode Smuggler's Blues.
Yes. A
great episode. Now, one thing that might help the Hall in this category would be if Glenn Fry actually referred to it as a big load of dope or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think he did. He might have called it the cargo or something, but...
Right. Yeah, I was just thinking, in a quite literal sense, did it weigh more than a human being?
Ooh.
How many Ks was it, and then converting that to pounds, because kilograms don't mean much to me because I'm American.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's a literal interpretation.
It is, and I've already been a little intimidated by the random number generator, so I'm not sure that I can handle the numbers on that.
Right. I'm okay leaving it in there right now, but
Mhm.
we'll see. Professor Radford,
Larry Linville has a proud tradition of playing dopes. I think Frank Burns was ideal for this category on MASH. And this episode, to me, was almost more like a henpecked husband. Don't get me wrong, it was still Larry Linville, but it was tough for him because there was such a big cast in that episode. Murder Takes the Bus. So for me, I'd have a tough time going for him in this one.
yeah. So Chester Tate, that's Robert Mandan. He would be the kind of heel dope.
Yes, a serial philanderer.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to have problems going on all around him and doesn't seem to appreciate what he has. So
Yes, he's a liar.
Yes, not always easy to get along with.
Dismissive of people like Benson.
Yes, pompous. Not just Benson, not just the help, so to speak, but also the Campbells.
Yes.
Extended family.
That's right.
Very snobbish, so certainly not a great guy, really.
No.
But a great performance.
Yes. Unappealing, great performance. Now, Jeff from Spider-Woman, that guy is a dope.
Ugh. Time and again, he proves it, too.
In all of the ways. I mean, he's sexist.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little bit of a blowhard.
Mm-hmm.
Like always putting himself over as brave, but then really not being. He's competitive with children.
Right.
And he just can't put it together. It's impossible, the idea that Jessica Drew could be Spider-Woman.
Right. He's totally dismissive of the idea that she could even be a competent
professional,
despite her running this entire magazine.
That's right. Yeah, he clearly thinks he's in charge, even though he's just the photographer.
Yeah, he's clueless in every way, really.
Yeah, and as we made clear before, that magazine only has 2.5 employees.
Yes.
Jessica is the publisher, the editor, the writer. Presumably she sells the ads, and Jeff is the photographer.
Yeah, I guess he can fly a helicopter.
He can fly a jet copter, yes.
Yes, so I'll give him that.
And Billy is just around to annoy people.
Yeah.
And maybe he gets coffee or something. He's just there. I don't know if he's an employee at all. So for me, Jeff is hands down the biggest dope.
Yeah, I think it's tough for somebody like Chester Tate. And this he just ran into the wrong dope this year.
That's right.
Jeff epitomizes what the baddies go for with that category. So I agree with you, Mike. I think we should go with Jeff here.
Now, I bet Chester is really kind of flummoxed by the fact that he's losing. But
exactly. That's a good point. He probably would be fuming over the fact that he loses anything. But
yeah.
Jeff, here's the thing, though. Jeff probably finds it an honor.
Yes.
He would probably brag about it.
He would be walking around with his chest puffed out.
Yes.
I'm the biggest dope. Billy would be. You sure are.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. Yeah. All right. Congratulations, Jeff.
Sure.
Wow, I think we're moving through these pretty quickly here. And we're into the next category is sort of connected, I would think, to biggest dope in a way.
Yes. Traditionally it has been. And we're looking at outstanding villain. And as we kind of alluded to before, villains come in all shapes, sizes, and some of them aren't even human. Some of them are robots. But villain can mean many things. So you'll often find kind of a wide array of heels and bad guys in this category. And I think this year is no exception. Last year, Solomon Grundy was named outstanding villain for his performance in Legends of the Superheroes. So,
and I believe he's hoarding his award somewhere in a swamp, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to try to take it from him.
No, well, but he loves gold. So I think he loves gold.
I think he does too.
Yeah.
I think when he grabbed Ed McMahon's wrist last time, I think he took Ed McMahon's Rolex.
I bet he did, yeah.
And hasn't given it back either, so. All right, outstanding villain. So that's my turn, and let's go down these nominees here. We have Davros from Doctor Who we mentioned before. From the Transformers, Starscream. Also from the Transformers, Megatron. We have Sam Farragut, played by Andy Griffith, from, of course, the TV movie Prey for the Wildcats. We have Ben Gibbons. He was the bus driver in Murder, She Wrote, played by Michael Constantine. And Relic, from a show that we haven't talked about yet tonight, Beachcombers. And from Miami Vice, we had kind of two people. We had Grossero and Jones. And I'm kind of being a little cagey here because I don't know if we want to spoil the episode, but there were two main villains here, one working from different sides of things, you might say, in Miami Vice, Smuggler's Blues. So those are the nominees for the category. And we have a lot of nominees, Mike, and some people from sharing the same show in a couple of instances. So this is kind of a tough one here, but...
Yeah, I'm just going to... Starscream and Megatron did not do much in these Transformers episodes that we saw. Megatron especially didn't. He was just on a screen, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
Classic villain, but they had this weird plan to build an office building. We still don't understand why they wanted to build an office building. The using hypnotized disco people to build it is nefarious. But why?
Yes, to what end?
Yeah, and even Starscream didn't really get to shine in his usual unappealing way.
Yeah. And we talked about Megatron's curious decision to tolerate Starscream, but I think you just raised a good point about these kind of like side projects that the Decepticons had, and really what kind of a ship was Megatron running if he had these things going on that weren't really productive.
Yeah, and Ben Gibbons, a bus driver, Michael Constantine from Murder, She Wrote, I would consider him a sympathetic villain. You can kind of understand why he did what he did. I mean, he did murder someone, and that's no good.
Sure.
And put some other people in danger and all of that. But, he was grieving for a long time, and it was sort of vengeance. And I'm not giving him a pass, but I would say he's not a villain per se.
Yeah, it was more a circumstantial villain than a real menacing presence, so I would eliminate him too.
Relic? That Relic. He's certainly a comedic villain of classic sort, an annoyance. On the other hand, the people in that town seem to put up with him, more or less.
That's a good point.
He did a good job of trying to put over his agenda.
Yeah, he often comes off more of a rogue than an outright villain.
Yeah.
And he did some dastardly things in that episode, but really everything he did, well, his tactics backfired on him, which I think works against him too, because, he tried to torpedo the restaurant, and he wound up inadvertently making it a big success.
Yes. Very Starscream of him, actually.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
Grossero or Jones, of those two, I would say Grossero because he had more of a presence.
Yeah, I think Jones, did the more vile thing.
Yes.
That had more of an effect on me personally. But Grossero is probably the bigger villain of the picture, maybe.
Right, and because they were hiding the identity of Jones.
I mean, I guess we could talk more about it because we gave away the Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah. He's the guy who was kidnapping people and blowing them up, including Trudy.
Trudy, yeah.
And certainly the whole plot of that episode, he was driving it, and yet, just as a character, like he wasn't prominent.
Yeah.
Until he got revealed, and he was dead by then. And that was sort of like, oh, right, that guy.
Yeah.
Who was in one other scene. Whereas Grossero was like the big cocaine dealer, and he had all the weird stuff going on, the little kid running around, and did try to kill Crockett and Tubbs a couple times. And
True. I will say this, though, too, and again, this kind of goes back to like looking at a show globally versus like on a more micro level. The more I think about it, I don't think I'd put either one of those guys, like if you made a top 5 list of Miami Vice villains, I don't think you'd put either one in. They just didn't stand out as much, after watching the episode. So
no Calderon.
Yeah, I think I would have to eliminate both those Vice villains.
So I think that leaves us with Davros and Sam Farragut. That's a pretty good competition there, I think.
Yeah, 2 truly evil individuals.
Yes. Davros did create a very long-living menace in the world, in the universe, the Daleks, and did unceremoniously sacrifice a lot of people's lives, and is just in appearance and behavior a classic villain.
Right.
And his voice and all of that. Sam Farragut, of course, manipulated people and bullied people and caused at least 2 people to die. And there were hints of other things he would have been happy to do.
Exactly.
He just didn't get a chance. I mean, he tried to buy a woman, essentially, from her boyfriend. He nearly ruined 3 people's lives.
And the dancing scene was maybe more evil, or more sinister and scary to me than anything in Doctor Who.
Uh-huh.
With the possible exception of the clam.
Right, yeah. Oh, and what if you combine those scenes?
Oh.
If he was dancing and he stepped in the clam?
Oh.
What a way to end that movie. But still fell off a cliff.
Yes. Here's what it comes down to for me. The essence of it is, just for me now, Davros was responsible for the deaths of millions of innocents. Sam Farragut was responsible for you and me sitting through at least 30 to 40 minutes of motorbiking action.
That's right.
So I think we got to take that into consideration as well. But they're both outstanding. But
I think, frankly, we have to take into consideration that it's an actor known at that time mostly for playing a very genial person, doing quite a heel turn.
Excellent point. The cast against type thing that we so love.
And really digging into it. As you said, it was like torturing him in his real life. He's having bad dreams and stuff. And
yes, that's right. Yeah.
About murdering Don Nutt. I vote for him.
Sam Farragut.
Yeah,
I think we should. I think he was just the top villain in this season. I agree.
Okay, again a slight odd congratulations, but there you go. Moving on to a classic category, one that really, I mean, I guess if you were doing shows made before this time, it might come up. Certainly not after this time as much, but outstanding facial hair. 70s and 80s were in a period of a lot of facial hair.
Sure was. A traditional favorite. Last year, this award was won by the Doobie Brothers for What's Happening.
That's right. The entire band.
Yeah.
So, the nominees here. Mike Connors from Charo, mustache. Edward James Olmos from Miami Vice, mustache. Hector Ramirez from the Transformers, mustache. Henry Winkler from ABC Still the One, we already mentioned, a beard. Tom Baker, what?
I believe for the sideburns.
I'm a little confused, but is it, yeah. He did have big sideburns, that's right. Okay. Richard Mulligan from Soap, is that for eyebrows?
Yes, I believe he was selected for his eyebrows.
Okay. At least once we had it, eyebrows as their own category. But Yakov Smirnoff, beard from Water Country, and Nick Adonidis from Beachcombers, who I believe was a mustache.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, we talked about Mike Connors. His mustache was a little surprising.
Yes.
It was a departure for Mike Connors, and it stood out. Maybe not for the right reasons. I think we might want to eliminate him. I mean, it's probably an honor for him just to be recognized in this category, but the mustache didn't actually do much except make us think, hey, why does Mike Connors have a mustache in this?
And I think lended to that air of him not being a tough guy.
Right.
Because it would be between wearing a tuxedo and that mustache, he seemed very old Hollywood.
Yep. I hate to say this, but Hector Ramirez had a rather small part in Transformers.
We were disappointed in that whole thing.
It's kind of like that mustache to me just screams wasted potential when I see it now in this list. So I don't know. I can't vote for him in this one, I don't think.
Yeah, I can't.
Now, another one, Nick from the Beachcombers.
Mm-hmm.
He had some good facial hair going.
Yeah.
And it stood out in the episode. I just don't know if it's competitive with some of these other ones, if it did enough in the episode as a mustache.
Okay.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to eliminate him, but I think he's got some heavy hitters left in this category.
He seemed very comfortable with his mustache to the point that it wasn't really doing work.
Right. Now, somebody like Thomas Magnum, he's comfortable with his mustache, but the mustache is still doing stuff on screen.
That's true.
I think you hit on something there, and that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
I'm guessing from your incredulous reaction to Tom Baker's nomination, that he's not a serious contender for this.
I don't think so, because I was confused. Hey.
Yes. Well, that should probably be enough to disqualify him, I think.
Yeah.
Because we've got so many great nominees in this. This is one of the largest group of nominees I think we've ever had.
It is, yeah. At this point, we're left with Eddie Olmos, as I call him, and Henry Winkler, and Dick Mulligan.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you call him?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't call him Dick, I call him Dick Mulligan.
Okay.
And Yakov Smirnoff.
Ooh, for What a Country. Yeah, man.
Some people call him the Yak, but
I haven't really haven't done that, but I can respect it. Yakov's beard was impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like a big fish in a small pond, I think. What a Country, not one of the biggest shows that we covered this year, but still worthy of some consideration.
Yeah.
It might be tough for, I mean, a beard, it basically comes down to some mustache, eyebrows, and a couple beards, right?
Yeah. His beard is a beard. It's just a beard. I don't know if it's anything special.
Well, do we give him demerits, or does Winkler have an advantage because the beard was unexpected, whereas Yakov, it's kind of just a part of his act? I don't know, but it's something to consider for sure. And for Richard Mulligan, we loved his performance in Soap and those expressive, full eyebrows of his. I don't know. As you mentioned, eyebrows have in the past had their own category. It might be tough for a set of eyebrows, even one as brilliant, even as a brilliant set like Mulligan, like Dick Mulligan. It might be tough to compete with a mustache and a couple of beards. I don't know.
Right. I'm not ready to eliminate him yet, but I don't know. And Yakov, I just did a quick image search, holographic image search, of course.
Of course.
Since we're in this high-tech arena here. But, I mean, it does seem like the beard is just part of his persona and continues to be. And is even on the large three-dimensional version of his face that's on his club sign. His beard just doesn't impress me enough. Not like Winkler's beard. Like you said, it's a surprise. And to me, again, I don't know how long the hiatus was back then, but it seems like he grew an impressive beard in a relatively short period of time.
I agree. Now, we could say that the mustache is an essential part of Edward James Olmos, too.
Yeah, and now there's an interesting comparison. Him with Nick from Beachcombers. Mm-hmm. You could say Olmos' mustache is doing nothing, but that's part of what Olmos is doing.
Right,
he's doing a lot through stillness.
Yes, and the mustache is part of that.
Yeah, and
we don't want to confuse.
Yeah,
we don't want to confuse underplaying with like a lack of charisma.
Right. Certainly, his is the most impressive mustache in this list.
And it's always been tough for me to consider Edward James Olmos without the mustache. It's really like a different person.
It's a little strange when you see it, and you do sometimes. Battlestar Galactica, he didn't have the mustache.
Right, and I don't believe he did in Stand and Deliver either.
Correct, yeah.
Which helped him inhabit another role, but to me, that mustache is such an essential part of Castillo.
Right, and if you think of like not quite the silhouette, but if you were to do like a simple cartoon of Castillo, it would be the hair, the mustache. Like you could do just the like black hair, a black mustache, and a black suit and tie. And probably a lot of people go, it's Castillo.
Yeah.
Like not even have a face. Just
right. I think you're right.
The hint of a face.
Yes. And his mustache was during the 1980s, too, when it was a little bit harder maybe to stand out, and it still did.
Yeah.
So I give him credit. Are we eliminating Richard Mulligan's eyebrows?
Unfortunately. I feel like they deserve a special award. Some sort of award for technical achievement.
Yeah. 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 And in another year, he might have had his own category to dominate. Just didn't happen this time.
I'm leaning almost.
I think you're right. It's so iconic, his facial hair, and it was outstanding in the episode. It's not like it underachieved in the episode. Some of these other categories we talked about, things that might have disappointed us. We have an iconic performance in a good episode. Let's not overthink it. I'd say we go with Eddie Olmos.
All right. Congratulations, Eddie Olmos, and your mustache.
Yes. Well, that leads us right into another audience favorite, Mike.
Right.
Outstanding hair.
Excellent.
And this can cover a lot of ground. It can cover a lot of territory on somebody's head, of course. But this category often encompasses all kinds of hairstyles and lack of hair, volume of hair, color of hair, if you will. Last year, the winner for outstanding hair, some of you may remember, was Phil Donahue. I think I'm only speculating on this, but it's possible that the pain of losing outstanding performances oneself was more than alleviated by winning outstanding hair, which is one of the more popular categories we have. So with Phil Donahue as our defending winner, let's take a look at the nominees in the outstanding hair category this season. We have Marjo from Pray for the Wildcats, William Shatner, also from Pray for the Wildcats. From Head of the Class, once again we have Eric and Simone. And finally, Jessica Drew from Spider-Woman. So there you have it. We've got 5 choices, 5 interesting heads of hair. What do you think, Mike?
Well, let's start with the head of the class people again. Simone has great red hair, definitely part of her persona, and Eric has something that I'm not prepared to call it a mullet exactly. I don't know what would you call that. It's got like it's a little bit mullety, like, but a little bit 50s kind of.
Kind of like a proto mullet, maybe, but yeah, I agree. It doesn't seem like a true mullet for some reason.
Right.
It might be because Brian Robbins was playing it not as a mullet. I think it was his performance that is kind of influencing us a little bit. But I agree with you. I can't really call that a mullet, but it was a nice set of hair. But
yeah, it is part of the image of that character. But I could see that character was still working with shorter hair or a different haircut.
I think he might have even gotten I don't know, in the last season or something, or his last season, not sure. But
of those two, I would keep Simone right now.
I agree.
As far as Pray for the Wildcats, we've had this discussion before.
Yes.
If it's not real hair, does it count?
Well, the blue ribbon panel, they keep putting us in this position time and again because it's almost like, I'm only speculating again, but it's almost like their position is, well, we're just going to put it out there and let them grapple with the decision of whether it's legit or not, which kind of puts me in an uncomfortable position.
Now, I think another time it was someone who, it's unclear whether the hair was real or not, but...
You're pretty solid in this case?
Yeah, Marjo is clearly wearing... Everyone knows Shatner's hair is at least partially enhanced.
Yes.
And frankly, this is it's great for the movie, but it is really a terrible haircut.
Yeah.
Whereas Marjo has Marjo hair, which is great. It's just and really I think adds in this case to his character, his desperation and everything.
It sounds to me like you're leaning Marjo among the Wildcats, and
yes.
I certainly don't disagree, but let me just say one word for, as you alluded to, how wonderful Shatner's hair epitomized the ennui of the middle class rat race.
That's true.
And kind of his travails. So, as you said, good for the role, but not outstanding.
Yeah. And then Jessica Drew. Now, one could say, well, if toupee doesn't count, why should animated hair count?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a different situation.
I agree, and boy, what a lustrous set of brunette hair she has too. Huh?
And yeah, black hair. It looks in her normal Jessica Drew persona, where it's more casual and a like a ponytail. That looks good, and a Spider Woman, and then it's she lets it loose and it's flying around. That's great too. So
Yeah, there are lots of shots of her turning and
yes,
the Charlie's Angels esque hair flip.
right, yeah. So as far as animated superhero hair, well, it looks great or it looks terrible depending on the frame of the episode.
Yes.
But it does stand out, I think, and it's part of the general Spider-Woman look. So I think we're left right now with Simone, Jessica Drew, and Marja.
I just had a thought. Is this the first time that a former Genius winner has come back and been nominated in another Batty Awards?
I think it might be.
Wow, that's quite an achievement. Marjo, of course, was a previous Genius Award winner for his role in Medical Center.
Yeah.
And now he's come back.
Yeah. If I'm not well, no, that was the first season. I was going to say Robert Pine, the genius himself, came back, but I don't think he did. I think he was nominated multiple times in the same season.
Yes, I think you're right. But well, either way, it's quite an achievement to have that hair. I think I would eliminate Jessica Drew partly because some of the inconsistencies in the animation and in the show kind of work against her a little bit.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah. So we're down to Marjo and Simone.
Well, Marjo's hair was great, as you mentioned in Pray for the Wildcats, but how did it really serve? Did it really serve his character as much in Pray for the Wildcats?
I think it did. I think it looked when we first met him. It made it clear that he was a little different.
Yeah, that's true.
But then as things went on, and it got full of dust and sweat and
yeah,
taking a helmet on and off and all of that. It just added to his crazed desperation to please Sam Farragut.
That's a great argument because I was initially thinking that maybe his hair was so good that it almost hurt the fact that he's kind of not the alpha.
Mm-hmm.
That he's more of an aspiring alpha, but you just made a good counter argument to that. I hear what you're saying on that.
And let's think about the other similar hair in that movie. Robert Reed's. He still had the curly hair going on, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a question about whether that's his natural look or not, but maybe his hair had some baggage. Like it makes you just think of later season Brady Bunch, and
right.
It seemed. I mean, it served the character too. It seemed more contained and unsure.
True. Yes.
Simone's hair, great. I'm a fan of redheads, but again, is it doing anything extra? Was she like picking up objects with it?
No, I don't think so. And I do wonder if you admitting that you're a fan of redheads. I'm starting to look back at that Danny Cooksey Award from last season in a different light now. But for what you're saying for Simone, boy, it's tough to vote against Simone again. But it was almost like the character is so timid that her hair she almost hides behind her hair. Unlike Marjo, who often leads with his hair.
Yes.
So, you thinking Marjo?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. Marjo, wow, a Genius Award winner coming back and winning an award. That's amazing.
Yes. I think we have a couple more awards here before a brief break. And the next one is Outstanding Song.
Ooh, this is always one of my... We don't always do this one because, if I may, Mike, we have awards for theme song as our fans will know. This is not a theme song. This is for a song that was actually performed or comes up during an episode that we cover.
Correct. Did we have one last time?
We did indeed. We had a packed category last time. We don't always because sometimes you don't have shows that have a lot of indigenous music in them. But last time it was Taking It to the Streets by the Doobie Brothers. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
Doobie Brothers ran away with the baddies last year.
Yes, they beat outstanding musicians like Jem and the Holograms and Laura Branigan.
Yeah. Okay, I will read these here. Outstanding Song, Jingle Bells from Yogi Bear's All-Star Comedy Christmas Caper Classic. And Love Will Keep Us Together from Charo. Smuggler's Blues from Miami Vice. The Rap Song in the Bar by Prince Robert from What a Country. Let's All Be There, the NBC promo song. Still the One, the ABC promo song. We've Got the Touch, the CBS promo song. And Black Diamond by Kiss and 321 Contact.
Okay, so I guess we're on the clock now. And I hope that you have some strong opinions in this one, Mike, because I think I'm going to be torn by a few here. But there's some ones that I personally would eliminate right off the bat.
Yeah.
I think we can whittle this down a little bit. Love Will Keep Us Together. I've heard that song enough times.
Right.
And it didn't particularly... They did a little different spin on it in the Charo special, but I'm not going to vote for that for Outstanding Song.
No.
Okay. Black Diamond, no offense to the Kiss Army out there, but we only saw snippets. Well, I'm not sure exactly. I don't remember how much we saw of it, but to me, it's not even one of their best songs. I would eliminate that as well.
I didn't even recognize it, so...
Yeah, I think I might have had to look it up as well. Now, Jingle Bells is one of my favorite songs, and I think that was part of it, maybe a medley too of Christmas songs. And
Was that at the beginning when the gang showed up?
I think they were singing a different song, like they were all around the campfire.
Oh, okay.
There's a campfire scene at the end where they were doing Jingle Bells and Deck the Halls and all that jazz.
Right.
I love the song, but I just don't feel Christmassy right now, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's tough for me to pick that out of holiday context in this case.
Okay. I'm going to say We've Got the Touch because I believe we determined that was the least successful of those songs.
Agreed.
No offense to Kenny Rogers, but
no,
it wasn't quite up there with the other two. Although I did read like 18 variations of it.
yes. We're not going by your rendition of it. We're going by as performed in the promos, the CBS promo campaign.
I believe that one was the one that had pronoun problems too.
Yes. Now, still the one I'm almost hesitant to eliminate it because it was so effective and entertaining in the promos. But the song itself is another one that I'm kind of sick of, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So I would eliminate that one personally.
Yeah.
Then that leaves us with some real heavyweights.
Yes, I think those three clustered together are Smuggler's Blues.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, the song inspired the episode, right?
It sure did.
And it played a part in it in classic Miami Vice style. We got a couple different versions of it. Glenn Fry was there himself, although he didn't perform it on screen. That would have been the ultimate edition.
It would.
Just like that character sitting around while they're waiting. Because he brought a guitar with him, just singing like that, the acoustic version of that.
Right.
But, that's hindsight.
Yes.
Which we should mention because we are traveling through time here, that there are certain rules, like that when people leave, they can't then go and change their shows based on the knowledge that they gain here.
Yeah, I think that's a responsible rule.
Yeah, or put more of their mustache into their acting or something.
Right. It's only fair.
Yeah, and people will be monitoring this. So you don't want to mess up the timeline.
No.
It could throw off our podcast, so.
It sure could.
Then we have the rap song by Prince Robert. So Yakov did a rap, and then Prince Robert did a rap.
Yeah, and let me just say that it's rather short. I mean, it's not even really a song, but I'm glad that it was nominated because in preparation, thinking that this would be nominated, I watched that bit again and I started laughing again. I can't understand it. I can't explain it, but for some reason that scene makes me laugh each time I think about it. So maybe it shouldn't win the outstanding song, but what an effort. I mean, really, technically Yakov's rap was much better.
Yeah.
And there was another guy in the bar. There was a DJ who was doing a rap, and then it was freestyling time. And Prince Robert's inept freestyling just cracks me up.
I'm going to see if I still have that. Maybe we can revisit it. And then Robert, no. I'd like to say hello to everyone, and I'm here to have quite an enjoyable time. I now will try my hand at rapping, and I'm going right into the toilet.
I'm sorry, I can't go on. I think that was one of the funniest things I saw all season. Definitely all episode, and it was quite a what a country. But man,
yeah.
But you know what? I'm not seriously.
You're not considering.
I'm willing to eliminate that one. Just
yeah,
it was brilliant for what it was, but I think it's unfair to have it compete with these legit songs. So for me, it would be between "Let's All Be There" and "Smuggler's Blues." I'll just mention again that "Let's All Be There" we've already mentioned that, but that's Nell Carter, one of the catchiest jingles ever made, let alone for a network promotional campaign. And I think it's been in my head every single day since we did the promos episode. So I think that counts for something. It's definitely in there. Entirely different type of show than Smuggler's Blues, but very effective for what it was doing, raising awareness of NBC.
Yeah. Let's All Be There is much more infectious. And, I mean, Smuggler's Blues is great and a contributor to that episode, but I think that Let's All Be There.
Yeah, I'm surprised to be going against Smuggler's Blues, which I thought was great, but Let's All Be There really seems to sum up kind of what we're doing on the podcast, I think. And don't ask me to explain that, but it just seems to be like television, that kind of thing, and the whole spirit of it. Not just the Nell Carter version, but just everybody singing it together and that whole thing, and just its ubiquity. I think it could be argued that jingle brought NBC to ratings prominence in the 80s.
Yeah, I think it could be, yeah. There might be some other factors, but I think it was mostly the jingle.
Yeah. Wow, so Let's All Be There?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And that is going to lead us to the second Listener's Choice Award, and I'll let you read those.
and then you will talk about the voting. But this is one that we haven't had before, and it's Outstanding Jessica. And while we may have had some Jessicas in the past, I don't know if we've had such a great cluster of Jessicas as we did in season 7. And we asked our listeners to vote for an Outstanding Jessica among these three: Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote, Jessica Drew from Spider Woman, and of course, Jessica Tate from Soap. So those were the three. And Mike, what did the listeners say about this one?
Well, one time we had a category, Outstanding Conrad.
Ah, yes.
So this could happen from time to time. But,
Well, the spirit of the baddies is celebrating excellence when it happens. So we like to celebrate, these particular circumstances when they arise.
yeah. And we had another tie. It's a little shocking. The first tie was shocking, and this tie is maybe more shocking. So we're going to have to do the random number again. Rick, can you give me a range?
Okay, let's go with 81 and 294.
Okay, and I'm going to say Jessica Fletcher is even and Jessica Drew is odd because the show was odd.
Sounds good to me.
All right, here we go. 81 to 294. Generate 159. That's odd. Jessica Drew.
Wow.
Or Outstanding Jessica.
Wow, Jessica Fletcher, I think it's a bit of an upset again that she loses again.
Yeah.
She lost both the Listener's Choice Awards.
She did. But, she tied in the initial voting. So really, it's only the random number generator. And get a screen grab of that one, too.
Wow. And I would like to say that though it appears on the surface that our listenership is divided, much like so much of the world is, I think our podcast will continue to bring us all together. And we thank everybody that voted. And although we didn't get a decisive winner, that's okay. That's what the random number generator is for. And I think we can all agree to come together and approve of the results here.
Yeah. And I would like to imagine for myself and the audience that if Jessica Drew and Jessica Fletcher teamed up, nothing could stop them.
Oh, for sure. An unbeatable tag team combination.
And, also Jessica Tate, hopefully she didn't take offense. She probably didn't realize what was going on. So
yeah, I think we'd probably have to explain the whole concept for a good 5 or 10 minutes before.
Right. Well, Benson
breaking this to her anyway.
Made wisecracks in the background.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to take a pause here for our little in memoriam section, and then we'll come back with the second half of the show.
DC Fontana, Ron Liebman, Renee Auberjonois, Carol Spinney, Philip McKeon, Lee Mendelson, Jack Sheldon, Ed Burns, Buck Henry, John Carlin, Jim Lehrer, Fred Silverman, Gene Reynolds, Orson Bean, Robert Conrad, Janet Dubois, Earl Pomerantz, Stuart Whitman, Lyle Wagner, Kenny Rogers, James Drury, Saul Turtletop, Brian Dennehy, Howard Finkel, Phyllis George, Fred Willard, Richard Hurd, Carl Reiner, Regis Philbin, John Saxon, Wilford Brimley, Summer Redstone, Raymond Allen.
Welcome back from that break. We hope you're all refreshed. We are. And we're going right into some of the most difficult categories to decide. Ones that we often refer to as the big ones. The ones you might think of at an award show. Maybe not as unique as some of the earlier ones, but here we go. So the first one is Outstanding Theme Song Instrumental. So we don't always have that category, or the next one, which is Outstanding Theme Song Vocals. It depends on the theme songs of a certain season. But this season we have quite a number in this category. Who won this last season?
Well, in the instrumental category, What's Happening took home the award.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, written by the great Henry Mancini, I believe.
Yes, that is true. Was that the one where we speculated that he might be on his way to a BGOT?
I think so.
Of course, I don't think Henry Mancini is still around.
Right.
So that ship may have sailed, but...
Yeah. And yet he's in the audience tonight. It's weird.
Yes.
Sorry, sir, you're going to die eventually.
Yes. One of the wonderful and disturbing aspects of this year's baddies.
The nominees are Miami Vice, Spider-Woman, Murder, She Wrote, Soap, Doctor Who, Head of the Class, and The Beachcombers.
Wow. Well, there's a couple here that don't really stick in my brain.
Yeah.
Beachcombers, I think, is overshadowed by the revival or the modernized version with the Baywatch-esque
Yes.
graphics and theme song. And that's the one that I remember more than the actual theme song.
Yeah, I don't remember the song at all.
So, granted, it's been a while, but I think we could eliminate that one.
Yeah, I would eliminate Soap.
Okay. Soap is certainly memorable, but it's not one of my favorites as a theme song.
Yeah, I just dislike it as a piece of music.
Wow. Okay.
I think I said that on the show, too. Now, it does suit the show, but yeah. I was going to say Head of the Class, but now I'm thinking about it. It's kind of cool in its cheesy way. And it's, what was it, classical meets rock and roll, sort of prog rock thing, 80s thing.
Which actually suits the character,
yes,
the premise, because it sets you up with like that staid sort of academic setting, and then lets you know that Charlie's not your conventional teacher.
That's right. He's going to rock their world.
Right. Now, Spider-Woman, I just want to mention that we've talked about this in the past. Like we've said, it does have words in it, but not, to me, the announcer's introduction is an essential part of that song, but we still include it in the instrumental category. To me, the part of Spider-Woman that makes the opening so great, it's the introductions, the voiceover, but not necessarily the music itself.
Yeah.
Like this is Jessica Drew.
Right. And some of the images.
Yes.
I'm comfortable eliminating that.
I think so too, yeah.
Because of the other three, not counting Head of the Class, you have like three classics. Miami Vice, unique among theme songs, absolutely tied in with people's memories of that show, the look of the show, the Jan Hammer synthesizers and guitars and everything.
Right.
Murder, She Wrote is wonderful piano music that, again, it suits the tone of the show, as I think we talked about. Goes on for a good minute and a half, even though there's only really one credit in the opening credits.
Yes.
But, a sequence that really kind of sells the show. This older woman solving mysteries and writing on a typewriter. And then Doctor Who, I mean, they've re-recorded it many times, but it's essentially the same thing, and it's... despite it being weird synthesizers and stuff, once you know it, you know the tune, more or less. Yeah. And it definitely fits the show, too.
Yes, and the floating head of Tom Baker in our season, an essential part of that sequence as well.
Right, and those very swirly bits and all of that. So, at this point, just saying that about those three, I think I could eliminate Head of the Class.
I agree, yeah.
Now I'm flummoxed.
Well, now, Murder, She Wrote, one thing that's good about it is it sells the show and also the setting. Like, I've never been to Cabot Cove, Maine.
Right.
I don't think we ever will be there, but it does sort of suggest what you would expect that kind of place to be.
Yeah.
That said, as a song, boy, it's tough for me to take it up. It's all these songs are intertwined with their shows, of course, but as a piece of music, it's not something that really excites me as much as the other two.
And let me ask you this. If you were, of the three, and you were watching on a service that allowed you to skip the opening credits. I know you don't tend to do that, and I don't, well, it depends on what I'm watching. But of those three, which would you be most likely to skip?
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
But it's a special case. And I'll say because Miami Vice and Doctor Who get me into the spirit of the show. Miami Vice gets me like kind of pumped up. And actually, I just realized something. Murder, She Wrote doesn't have a cold open.
Right.
Miami Vice often did have a cold open, right? So
yes.
The theme song wouldn't come until afterwards, for what that's worth. But as you know, Murder, She Wrote, I skip the music or mute it because when I'm watching Murder, She Wrote. No, actually, I skip the teaser at the beginning and then kind of get myself back into the thing. So it's kind of a relief for me, actually, yes. Because I don't want the guest stars spoiled until the opening credits. So to me, it's kind of a different experience watching it. But to answer your question, Murder, She Wrote would be the one I would most likely skip.
I feel that way, too. The other two, I think, do tend to have the cold open and kind of like just bang into them.
Yeah. Miami Vice, as I recall, like the song is almost jarring or something, or there's something dramatic happens, then right in often like with entirely different tone. Like there could be a moment of like silence or something like, or eeriness or menacing, and then you go right in. So it's often very jarring to have the song come in.
Right.
But Doctor Who, the theme song is jarring in its own way, but it's a good way because it's sort of off-putting in a way, and it sort of discombobulates you and kind of sets you up for that weird journey.
Yeah.
It's a tough choice. I think I know what I would pick. I think my number one, but it's not totally definitive for me.
Go ahead and tell me because I can't decide.
My number one pick is in a close one is Miami Vice.
Okay.
It's just so iconic. A word I use a lot talking about these, but it's a good song. It has the visuals and everything, and it's really hard for me to think of the show without the song. Whereas Doctor Who, as much as I love that music, I don't know if that it changes. The intro changes a little bit each time, which is kind of another argument maybe against it. This fourth season, or wait a minute, our fourth Doctor, was it 13th season or whatever? That was a great intro, but I don't think it's quite as essential as Miami Vice's theme song is.
Okay, I can go with that.
Splitting hairs again, but that's just my first reaction.
Yeah, I mean the Doctor Who and the Murder She Wrote too are more melodic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Miami Vice song doesn't really have a melody per se in the same sense, but it's such an element of that show, and if you were to hear it now out of context of the show, the visuals of the show would pop in your head.
Doctor Who might define a genre, but Miami Vice defines a decade. The music says.
That's right.
And on a personal note, I had the Miami Vice soundtrack on LP, the first one anyway, and much to my chagrin, neither Columbia nor BMG carried the Murder She Wrote soundtrack, so I never had that one on LP. So that might be kind of tipping it in favor of Miami Vice for me as well.
I think I can stand behind that decision.
It's a tough one, but
yes, Jan Hammer takes it away with Miami Vice.
Yeah.
He might be close to a B God. I don't know what his award situation is.
I think we're going to have the crack research team look into this.
At least a B. He's got to have a B, right?
A B?
Yes, a BATTY and an Emmy.
Oh, B-E, yeah. How would you get like a B Arthur, like a BEA?
Ooh. Well, an Ace Cable Award?
Yeah. You know what? I have a sudden urge to do Maud on the show as soon as possible because I'm pretty sure she's won an Emmy.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if she ever won an Ace, B. Arthur, but...
No, I'm sure she must have won a Tony, right?
Yeah, probably.
I don't know about a Grammy. I don't know.
I'm sure she didn't win an Oscar.
No.
But wait a minute. But Herb Edelman, did he not star in the Odd Couple movie?
Ah.
Which had... well, anyways.
I don't know. Okay, let's move on to Outstanding Theme Song Vocals, a smaller category.
Now, last year, this award was won by a classic show and a classic song, Cheers. So this year, as you said, it's a smaller category, but we do have 3 worthy ones, and I think this is going to be another tough one.
Season 6, we didn't have did we have a theme song with vocals?
We did. It was Cheers.
It was Cheers, okay.
Yes, Cheers.
So Cheers and Doobie Brothers ran away with the Batteries in the same season.
That's true. Cheers beat out Moonlighting and Hardcastle and McCormick.
Yeah, okay.
Believe it or not. But it was a tough... And Gem and the Holograms.
Right.
So it was a tough category. And this year, I think, though we have less options, I think it's going to be a tough one again. All right, so for Outstanding Theme Song with Vocals, we have What a Country, The Transformers, and 3-2-1 Contact.
Oof. Okay. To remind people, the What a Country was sort of the Randy Newman pastiche.
Yes, the I Want to Be an American.
Yeah, that's right.
And I believe it also had one thing that I liked about it was that it had 2 different versions. I think there was one at the beginning, and I think there was a slightly different version at the end.
Yeah.
I think at the end it was even more Randy Newman-ish than the beginning.
I think so, yes.
It was more wistful and had the scatting at the end.
Yes, yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Transformers, More Than Meets the Eye, and then 3-2-1 Contact. Contact is the something. The contact.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I have a choice here already.
Really? Okay. Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I think What a Country, I think we can probably eliminate that. I'm assuming that's not your choice.
No. It did entertain me.
Yes.
Maybe not for the right reasons, but I got a lot of enjoyment out of it.
I concur.
Transformers is a classic cartoon theme song, but we did lament that the version in the season we watched episodes from been altered some. It was not quite up to snuff.
That's right.
3-2-1 Contact is awesome.
Wow.
I think. And maybe I'm prejudiced too by watching the first episode where they show them recording it. But for me, that's like, again, as part of it's that nostalgia thing too. Like, that's like such a part of that show. Like when I think about that show, even though I can't ever remember the lyrics.
Yes.
I don't really know the lyrics to these other songs either, though.
I suspect we might get some blowback on this one, but I lean with you on 3-2-1 Contact, and I think part of it was indeed seeing that making of, which was so spectacular. It was almost as cool as like the making of We Are the World. You know, you see the musicians in there, and you see the process, and it made it seem like really an event, not just a theme song.
Yeah.
It somehow enhanced my enjoyment of the song, which was already cool. I mean, it may be, to be honest, it may be the one thing a lot of people remember about the show. I think 3-2-1 Contact would be my choice too. This may be easier than I thought, but I love that song. It does what it needs to do. It sets things up. Maybe it's not as literal as Transformers.
Right.
It captures something though. It gets some excitement. Transformers does pretty much tell you what you need to know, but I'm always in favor of that. But I got to go with 3-2-1 Contact. That really hits me in the gut.
Wow! Congratulations! And before the timer, it's always a good sign.
I guess it helps to have only 3 nominees, but
that does help. Yeah.
I'm still a little surprised, but wow.
Okay, so now we're going to be moving into the supporting performance categories.
I can point out that last year, the winner for Outstanding Supporting Performance by a Female was Rhea Perlman for Cheers.
That's right. And this is a relatively new category. I think we didn't have it at first. We've added it to honor more people.
And I think it's here to stay, yes.
Here we go. Outstanding Female Supporting Performance. Angie Dickinson in Pray for the Wildcats. Rue McClanahan in Murder, She Wrote. Elizabeth Sladen in Doctor Who. And Olivia Brown in Miami Vice.
Okay. Well, these are 4 powerful performers. Elizabeth Sladen was Jane Smith, one of the Doctor's probably most beloved companions, I would say. Olivia Brown was Trudy, who didn't always have a lot to do on Miami Vice, but as we've mentioned, she was a big target in in Smuggler's Blues and was pivotal there. Rue McClanahan was married to Larry Linville's character in Murder, She Wrote.
Mm-hmm. And a
kind of the
big book reader.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And Angie Dickinson, of course, a powerhouse performance in Pray for the Wildcats.
Married to Shatner and had an affair with Robert Reed, correct?
It was the other way around, I believe.
That's right, yeah. She was married to Robert Reed and had the affair with Shatner's character.
Yeah, yes.
And I believe she got to utter the title of the...
Yes. Oh boy, I'm glad you reminded me of that. And I think we speculated on, it was an interesting line reading. But I think we agreed, didn't we, that it was kind of it was a little sardonic.
Yes.
Pray for the Wildcats.
Pray for these idiots. Yeah, and so Rue McClanahan was, as we said, was the librarian, and definitely different than the Rue of the Golden Girls, for sure. I believe she did some flustered things, and but her being a librarian and knowing about books was a big clue. Mm-hmm. Oh, and she stole the book too.
Yeah, she was a sticky-fingered librarian.
Yes,
she was a connoisseur of rare editions and whatnot. I was not necessarily as impressed by her in this category as the others.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, to me, same thing with Olivia Brown. I like to see Trudy get her spotlight in the episodes, but it was more her situation. I don't know if she stood out as much through no fault of her own in that episode.
She showed the terror that she felt, and even like ambiguity when they first took on this mission, because she knew she was going to be bait.
Right.
But yeah, I think we can take those 2 out. So it'd be between Sarah Jane and Angie Dickinson.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as Doctor Who, I mean, the character, as we mentioned, I think in our catching up bonus episode, I went on to watch a lot of Doctor Who after we talked about it on the podcast, and her character is not always the most dynamic character. Sometimes it seems like she's just there to be put into tough situations, and even the Doctor has kind of a condescending attitude towards her. Harry definitely has a condescending attitude towards her. It doesn't seem to treat her with a whole lot of respect. Affection maybe, but not necessarily respect. But, I mean, I think she does go beyond just plucky, and I think she seems quite capable. I definitely enjoy her. It's kind of like the epitome to me of what could be often a thankless role, but I think she does a good job with it.
Yeah, I think she does a good job, and I think she's, she does a good job of projecting intelligence and the idea that when people are underestimating her, that they are underestimating her.
Yes.
Seems to be capable of acting with a couple different doctors and treating them as the same but different. And that didn't come up in this episode, this sequence of episodes so much because they had already started to establish that new relationship. But, she's really good. I think the Angie Dickinson role is a bit of a thankless role too. Because of course she's not involved in the main story. But she is, she seems important to figure out where they are. And yet, well, is she? I don't know. Does she actually get anyone to help her? I can't remember.
Well, it's weird because there was that part where I think I was a little bit confused. I think we might have talked about this because her and some of the other women show up there and we had no idea how they knew to prepare. It was like they knew that they were all in trouble, but it wasn't established how they would know that.
Yeah.
That they would know exactly when they were coming back.
In an ambulance, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So it was a little ambiguous, but her character was a little ambiguous. She brought a certain intrigue to the characterization, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and I think she had some even though she's Angie Dickinson, and she, like, part of my image of her is glamorous, even though she was playing, her most famous role is playing a cop. But, I thought she played, like, the frustrated middle class housewife pretty well. Or not housewife, but wife. Managed to seem casual, but was also, the character was interesting enough that she, at some point, just, told Shatner's wife what had happened, and
Right.
Because she was concerned. The safety of these guys concerned her more than tact, I guess.
Right. Well, to me, I don't really have a strong lean between these two. If I had to pick a tiebreaker, I think what you mentioned about her saying the name of the movie would be my tiebreaker for Angie Dickinson. But I'm certainly willing to listen to giving it to Doctor Who.
I would lean more to that, to Sarah Jane. I think, to Elizabeth Sladen.
I can certainly go with that. Yeah.
I think just because she was an essential part of the story, whereas the Angie Dickinson wasn't.
Yes. Elizabeth Sladen was very good at fake falling, as I recall.
Yes.
At least once or twice, I think, in that storyline.
Right, yeah. Possibly falling to her doom and then really only
Yes.
falling a few feet. But
yeah. She had me going, though, each time. I thought she was going to fall like 20 feet.
She showed a certain amount of disdain for Harry, stepping in that giant clam, I think. So.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I think that's a good one, yeah.
All right. So that then leads to outstanding male supporting performance.
Oh boy. Okay, now last year, it should come as no surprise to anybody that Cheers won that one too. Which was remarkable because there were 3 people from Cheers nominated: George Wendt, John Ratzenberger, and Kelsey Grammer, who was the winner.
Yeah.
Quite an achievement. And this year, oh wow, it's another loaded category, Mike.
Yeah.
Shall I read off the names here?
You shall.
Okay. We have Edward James Olmos from Miami Vice, Glenn Fry from Miami Vice, Robert Guillaume from Soap, Jackson Davis from Beachcombers, The Boz, Tom Bosley from Murder, She Wrote, Robert Reed from Pray for the Wildcats, and former Genius Award winner and winner already today, Marjo Gortner for Pray for the Wildcats. So that's seven great names here. Where do we go, Mike? Where do we go?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where to start, even. I mean, Robert Guillaume is interesting. He's in the same position as Kelsey Grammer was.
Yes.
Playing a supporting role that then became a lead role. And I don't think that says any... Well, maybe it does say something. That they thought he could carry his own show. But it's at least an interesting bit of trivia. So... This may say something to Jackson Davies. He played
Constable.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wasn't 100%. The Boz, of course, as Amos Tapa, and then we have the 2 from each from those other things. I would eliminate Jackson Davies.
Fair enough.
After that, it gets tough, I think.
It does.
Like I did enjoy the Boz in that character. He's different than Mr. C.
He certainly is.
He's a little out of his depth.
He is, and I admired his intensity in that episode. As far as what he had his eye on the raffle to win a TV and
that pot roast or whatever they were serving.
Yeah,
rice pudding. I think that was the big
rice pudding, or it wasn't chowder.
Yeah, I don't think chowder was involved.
Okay.
I'm sure other episodes have him talking about chowder.
Yeah.
And he is a person I remember. I mean, I guess because he was on it more than once, but my memories of Murder, She Wrote always include Amos Tapa. Even though he really wasn't on that like, I guess a couple seasons, but then he got his own show, so.
He does seem like a regular, yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to think of those last seasons without him being on the show at all. Partly because I haven't seen any of the episodes from those later seasons, but I see what you're saying there, yeah.
As far as Miami Vice, there is a question: how much did Eddie almost do in this episode?
Not a whole lot. I think that was one of the tough choices we had to make when selecting the episode. Is I think we kind of wound up with one that didn't really showcase Olmos.
Yeah, he did his usual not a lot with a lot, or a lot with not a lot, or whatever he's doing. But he was not. He stood around a little bit and yelled into a walkie-talkie, I think. But he was definitely not the center. Whereas Glenn Fry was a big part of this episode.
He was very entertaining.
Yes, and even dramatic.
In a guest role.
Yeah, made himself known and got a little more acting work out of it, and and of course his song was ever present. Then we have Robert Reed and Marjo. We've already talked about Marjo's desperation, and Robert Reed's character, he was kind of playing the middle, right?
Exactly, yes.
And he was good in it.
He had a pivotal scene late, a little trying to talk to Shatner's character. He had some important scenes there, but I don't know. I can't see myself voting for Robert Reed over these other ones.
No.
And even Marjo, as much as I like that performance, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I would eliminate him too.
I think I would too. To me, I would say it's Guillaume, Glenn Fry, Robert Guillaume, or the Boz. Is that where we're at?
I think so.
The only time in history anyone has said that.
Yeah. We haven't talked a lot about Robert Guillaume. You did mention, we've mentioned him, but just how good he was and how brilliant he was, bringing a lot into that role. Basically a domestic,
right?
Kind of a sassy domestic, but just everything he said, drew your attention to him.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things he did on that was, I think he makes lines that shouldn't be as funny as they are. He makes everything better that he says.
I think so. And I think, that he's playing it. I know part of it was his choice and part of it was the writing, but he's the character is clearly like intelligent and insightful and observant.
And there's an appropriate edge to it too.
Yes.
With some of the stuff that's going on in that household. I think he brings a lot into a great performance. And as you said, they built a show around him, understandably. Glenn Fry Glenn Fry and the Boz, I see them both as entertaining, but kind of on a different level than what Guillaume was doing in Soap.
Yeah, I think so.
So I think I'm kind of talking myself into saying that my vote, I think, would be for Guillaume.
Yeah, I agree. I think he stood out the most and contributed the most. Well, maybe not contributed the most, but let's give it to him.
All right, the great Robert Guillaume.
Yeah, all right. Moving along here. Now, outstanding female lead performance. This is going to be a competitive category this year.
Yes, it does. And I think somebody might have a chance who's been snubbed a few times tonight or shut out. But now last year, do you want to guess what show took home this award last year?
Cheers?
It was Cheers. Shelley Long won outstanding performance by a female for the season 6 baddies.
All right. Let me read these here. Outstanding female lead performance. Angela Lansbury, Murder, She Wrote. Katherine Hellman, Soap. Charo. Joan Van Ark, Spider-Woman. And Catherine Damon, Soap. Clearly you were talking about Joan Van Ark when you said someone who'd been snubbed a couple of times.
Yes. Well, yes. I'd like to think that she would take losing best hair personally.
Yes.
Because although she was traditionally a blonde,
right,
she might have thought that the hair was based in part on her.
Maybe she did some of the rotoscoping modeling.
I hope so. I like to think that she really embraced this Jessica Drew / Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
And, she didn't have a whole lot to do, but she was good at what she was doing.
Yeah.
She was the lead. She's a female.
Mm-hmm.
It was a performance. The one I think I would eliminate is Charo, because we kind of already eliminated her as oneself.
Yes.
And I think if she couldn't, based on our discussion, I don't know if we can give her this one.
Right. Although her work is Martha Washington.
That was impressive, yes.
I mean, what a spin on Martha Washington.
It certainly was. I think I probably enjoyed that more than her spin on Love Will Keep Us Together.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it.
Yeah. I think Joan Van Ark, we can eliminate her too.
Okay.
Not that it has to be the case, but there didn't seem to be a huge differentiation between Jessica Drew and Spider-Woman, which is possibly why Jeff seemed even dopier.
I think you've hit on an essential part of it there. You're right. There was no, like the Bud Collyer Superman, up, and away,
Yeah.
So.
Or being bumbling or being.
Yeah.
She's not even like mousy or something. Anything different than really the costume.
Right. And again, this is probably not at all Joan Van Ark's fault, but it's something to consider for sure.
Yeah. So that leaves us with Angela Lansbury as Jessica Fletcher, Katherine Hellman as one of the...
Yes, Jessica Tate.
Jessica Tate, yes. And Catherine Damon as...
Mary Campbell.
Mary Campbell, thank you. And so we've got the two sisters... who were both co-female leads of that show. Definitely different personalities, different things to deal with. Catherine Hellman, Jessica Tate is sort of naive and flighty and of course in this wealthy family. And Mary is in this working class family and dealing with what one might call a lot of chaos in her house.
Correct.
The son who's a mobster or a would-be mobster, and she's got the son who's gay, and she's got Richard Mulligan and food fights. Just a lot to put up with.
Exactly.
Now, of those two, I would probably have to give it more to Catherine Hellman, which is the showier part, let's be honest. But she really is doing something is really good at that role. And maybe it's being able to contrast it with Mona from... Yeah. Who's the Boss?
I think going back and watching some soap was almost like a revelation to see her doing this entirely different character and how good it was.
Yeah.
Catherine Damon was doing good work too, but as you said, it was much more of a wasn't much theatrics to it. She was kind of more playing a center, which there's certainly a need for that. But I think I'd kind of agree with you. I would pick Catherine Hellman over her in this category.
But then there's Angela Lansbury.
Boy, is there Angela Lansbury.
Boy, now she's got to be up for a BGOT, right? I don't know about Grammys, but I'm sure she's won Emmys and Tonys and Oscar even. I'm not sure about that. For Manchurian Candidate, maybe? Or
that would have been it, Manchurian Candidate, which I don't know if she won for that or not. I'll have to get the crack research team on that.
Yeah.
But
well, maybe a bet at the very least.
Yes. Well, what can you say about Angela Lansbury that we haven't already said?
Yeah.
Without getting me in trouble.
You know, she plays Jessica's intelligence and curiosity and busybodiness.
Yes.
Well, I think we talked about her, like a lot of those reaction shots where she's putting pieces together, but it's all fun too. There's a lightness to it, a slight comedicness to it.
It's almost like, and two, there's almost like a little bit of arrogance to her sometimes, but there's a kind of a lightness to that too. Like, she means well.
Yes.
And she does have to put up with some less than competent people wherever she goes. I think something that really impresses me about Angela Lansbury is that we already mentioned the Boz. We have had several performers nominated for guest spots in that Murder Takes the Bus episode pretty much every time out. If she didn't have to but if she didn't have to share a screen with, William Wyndham as Seth or the Boz, well, she always had like a cast of all-star guests.
Yeah.
Yet she always managed to stand out, even, given the fact that the show is built around her. Of course, you would expect that, and she's in so many scenes, but it's very tough to steal an episode from her, and I think that's definitely in her favor.
Yeah, I think so. She gets my vote.
I think so too. She can do it all. She solves crimes. We see her. She's a world-class athlete at the beginning. She's biking, running. She brings the glamour.
Yeah, I wonder.
She's a mystery novelist.
Did she ever get to sing on this show?
I'm wondering if one of those episodes where she plays a rare dual role.
Oh, yes.
For her cousin Emma, I think, or
right.
That might have happened in one of those. But
that seems like a good opportunity for that.
Yes. Well, she's welcome to sing at a BATTY ceremony whenever she wants. She's got an open invitation. Oh, boy. Here's another tough one coming up, folks. It's Outstanding Male Lead Performance. And last year, of course, Cheers won this award. Cheers was just a juggernaut in the back half of the season 6 baddies, but Ted Danson won for playing Sam Malone. Maybe not a surprise in itself, but consider that he beat out Bruce Willis, William Daniels, Alan Thicke, Adam West. I mean, that's a pretty impressive group. And I'll tell you what, we've got another impressive group this time. And I believe it's my turn to read the nominees. Here we go, folks. Let's get ready for this one. This is going to be tough, I think. All right, we have William Shatner, Pray for the Wildcats. Andy Griffith for Pray for the Wildcats. Tom Baker for Doctor Who. Don Johnson, Miami Vice. Philip Michael Thomas, a.k.a. PMT, maybe not, but we hope so, for Miami Vice. Richard Mulligan for Soap. Bruno Gerussi for Beachcombers. And, last but not least, Howard Hessman for Head of the Class.
Wow.
This is almost like a Hall of Fame right here.
It is, yeah.
And one category.
I would like to have seen a Murder, She Wrote featuring all of them.
Oh.
As guests. Yeah.
That is a brilliant idea. If only. Where do you go with this one, Mike?
Well, I think the last two on the list would probably be the first two to go for me.
It's a bit ruthless, but, we've got some tough goings here, and I can agree with you right away.
Howard Hessman did fine work as Charlie. And Bruno was Nick, correct?
Yes.
And, he's good. He's appealing. Down-to-earth appealing. He's not quite up there with these other guys.
No.
And we sang Richard Mulligan's praises quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
For all the different stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
And his eyebrows, of course. Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas, who probably doesn't get as much credit as he should. But I like they have a good contrast. Whereas Sonny's kind of a little more low-key, and Tubbs he can be very animated and slick.
Well, if I may, I just want to mention one thing in Philip Michael Thomas's favor, since we've been talking about it, and I think we did a web post about this a while back, is that he's the one that apparently came up with the term EGOT.
Oh. Okay.
I think he semi-predicted that he would win, or that he said that was his goal.
I could see that, and he has not
He is not. That was many years ago that he made that prediction. But hey, it was still cool that he came up with it, right?
It is, yeah. Well, there you go. And yeah, Tom Baker. We both find his performance delightful as Doctor Who. Believe you've said that he's your doctor, and then you got Shatner and you got Andy Griffith. Now Shatner, of course, was as we talked about, was underplaying things. A rare choice for him.
He was, yes.
His character was depressed, suicidal even, and as you said earlier, was suffering from middle class ennui.
Yes.
But then he got Andy Griffith, and that tour de force.
It's almost like William Shatner. He gave some of his play to Andy Griffith.
I think so,
and
yeah.
Who added on to his level of play and
right.
Played the heck out of it.
Yeah. He just embraced malevolence and really dug in. Oh, boy. I don't even know.
Well, I think, honestly, I would eliminate PMT.
Yeah.
Well, don't argue about it or anything.
That should have had a question mark at the end of it. A prompting question mark more than a... But I think he had less to do in that episode.
Yeah, especially...
did get tortured.
Right. I mean, he was pivotal in some of the decision-making near the end.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good episode for him, but boy, when you think about the show, I mean, it's tough to...
Yeah.
We're giving him his due. Don't get us wrong. But I don't know if I would choose him over Don Johnson.
Right. Yeah, Don Johnson had that dramatic scene with Glenn Fry, and then, of course, at the end, he was keeping Trudy calm while the guy tried to defuse the bomb. And that was a pretty intense scene, too.
I don't want to do what... It does seem like the show Miami Vice definitely leaned toward, favored Don Johnson a lot, especially as the show went on. I don't mean to do that. To be honest, though, I don't know if I would pick Don Johnson over some of these other ones, though.
I don't think I would. Yeah, I like him, but I don't think... For me, it's down to Mulligan, Baker, or Griffith.
Wow. Okay, I will agree with you in eliminating Shatner.
Yeah.
I think we can... Miami Vice was great, but I could probably eliminate Don Johnson. Okay, well, you are right. Tom Baker is my Doctor Who. I've grown to like him even more watching since we did the podcast. And also, I want to give a special shout out to our listener, Thomas, who suggested we do Doctor Who and even pointed us in the direction of this specific episodes we covered.
Yeah.
And Richard Mulligan, you know, I mean, how much I loved Mulligan's performance, though. That was great. It's tough. And Andy Griffith, we've already recognized him, but that doesn't mean he's not worthy of further recognition. Ooh. If we're talking multi-dimensional here, though, in many senses of the word, I mean, Tom Baker and Richard Mulligan have more to do than Andy Griffith does in that movie.
I don't know if we should hold this against him or not, but the movie is terrible.
You know, it's funny because if you didn't listen to our episode, if you're only...
Yeah.
I don't know if you would think that we thought the movie was terrible.
Right.
Because on one hand, we love it so much, and it's been up for so many of these awards. We've talked about how much we love it.
I think I was a little more positive on it than you were.
I don't know. The more time goes by, the more I kind of like that episode or that movie. I don't necessarily want to see it again.
You're not buying the Blu-ray,
but I love the movie. I'm tempted. I'm tempted. That's the thing. It's because I don't necessarily want to watch it again, but somehow I love the movie anyway.
Uh-huh.
And part of it is because of Andy Griffith's performance.
Yeah, I would say I can narrow it down, I think.
Okay.
If we eliminate him, let's shove him off the cliff.
Yeah, that's a fitting end.
Yeah.
For Sam Farragut.
All right.
Okay, so that leaves Tom Baker and Richard Mulligan.
Yeah.
Well...
Like, I enjoy them for completely different reasons, I think.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Like, Tom Baker, it's like this almost just effortless charm and bemusement with everything. I mean, he can get dramatic and intense when he needs to, but a lot of it is just it's how the character's written, but it's him then playing that, being, just sort of bemused and curious about things, and, and you can only see him thinking.
Yeah, and he's also brash.
Yeah, and Mulligan's character, he's just, like, very tightly wound.
He is, and it's even hard for me to determine degree of difficulty because, on the one hand, Tom Baker was going into a role that several others had played. I mean, even with the regeneration, you're still stepping into the shoes of something that everybody's seen already. But Mulligan's doing flat-out comedy, which, as we know, is very difficult. And what he was doing and standing out on that type of show, a very broad show at times, but, the monologuing that I love so much and the whole package with him was very good. This is tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning Tom Baker, but...
You know what? I was just going to say that I think in my heart it probably should be Tom Baker. It's hard for me to articulate why, but it just feels like the spirit of the category. I mean, Mulligan is more of an ensemble, not always featured on the show, whereas Tom Baker, I mean, there's no show without him.
Yeah.
And as a tiebreaker, I think that's a pretty good tiebreaker for me personally.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Tom Baker, the Doctor.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So not only is music the Doctor, as we learned in our last season, but Tom Baker is the Doctor as well.
Okay, so we are up to the last of two categories that involve nominees, and these pretty much include every show that we talked about. So the first one is Outstanding Episode, and as we need to remind people always, not Outstanding Episode of the podcast, but Outstanding Episode of television that we talked about.
That is correct. Of course, we always hope that it's a multiple way tie for Outstanding Episode of the podcast, right?
Right, yeah.
You can't pick just one.
That's right. So who won this last time? I have a feeling I know, but...
It was actually kind of a tough decision because Cheers did win, but we, as you remember, we actually talked about 2 episodes of Cheers, and Power Play, which was the more Sam and Diane episode, was the one that won. So yes, Cheers took home another one.
All right. So the nominees here are Pray for the Wildcats, Charo, Yogi's All-Star Comedy Christmas Caper. Ah, that's the name. Miami Vice, Smuggler's Blues, Spider-Woman, I forget the name of that episode, Pyramids from Space or something.
Yes.
Soap, the pilot. Transformers, there were 2 episodes we had there. The breakdancing one and then Optimus Prime being hunted. The Head of the Class, which was the Russians are coming. What a Country, The Beachcombers, Relics Rule, Murder, She Wrote, Murder Takes the Bus, 321 Contact, which was on Light, and Doctor Who, Genesis of the Daleks, which was technically 6 episodes. We usually can eliminate a few.
Yeah, and I think this is no exception. Pyramids of Terror was the episode of Spider-Woman, by the way.
I would go ahead and, since I called it terrible, eliminate Pray for the Wildcats. And I would also eliminate Charo.
Yeah, I agree.
And Beachcombers, I think.
Yeah, we still love you, Canada, but
yeah,
Beachcombers has not fared well tonight.
No. So that's 3. Transformers, if I would at least eliminate, I think, the one where Optimus Prime gets hunted. Mostly because it didn't have breakdancing in
it. Yes, that's reasonable to me.
Although it did have a lot of fun, illogical stuff in it.
It did. It was a good episode.
You know who, honestly, that British guy from that maybe should have gotten in the best facial hair category.
That's a legitimate concern. I think you're right on that.
He had quite a mustache. But anyway, can't change that. Head of the Class and What a Country, I think I would go ahead and eliminate those too. We weren't super impressed with either of those, despite your delight at the rapping in What a Country.
Yeah, that was a standout scene, but we're not doing outstanding scene.
Right.
It's outstanding episode, so I would agree. Let's eliminate those.
So where does that leaves us with Yogi, Miami Vice, Spider-Woman, Soap, Breakdancing, Transformers, and Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote is still in there.
321 Contact, and Doctor Who.
Yeah. I would probably eliminate 321 Contact.
Yeah.
As much as we enjoyed that episode, it was a great episode of 321 Contact, but a lot of that for us, I think, was nostalgia and sort of refamiliarizing ourselves with the format. I don't know if it stands out as an episode. Well, it stands out as an episode because it had Kiss in it, but as far as being an outstanding episode, I would eliminate that one.
And refamiliarizing ourselves with concepts, basic scientific concepts of light.
Yes.
And we're taking the Doctor Who as a whole, right?
Correct. This is like the entire arc or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So wait a minute. Soap is still in it?
Soap is in play. Miami Vice, Spider-Woman.
Okay.
Yogi.
Here's another one I would eliminate, actually. I would eliminate Murder Takes the Bus.
Oh.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I don't even know if it's one of my favorite Murder, She Wrote episodes.
Okay.
I mean, we're getting down to some kind of the nitty-gritty here, so.
Yeah. All right. I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I feel like probably with a show like Murder, She Wrote, the distance between a great episode and a good episode is fairly short. That's not a criticism.
Yeah,
that just
right.
That it's a consistent show.
Yes.
So it just probably depends a lot on guest stars and maybe some of the plot and
yes,
a few other things. But
yeah, I didn't mean to be totally dismissive of that. Now we still have Transformers Autobop in there,
right?
Yes, it was Autobop and I think Prime Target.
Yes, yeah.
I would eliminate Autobop too.
Yeah.
I mean, it had the breakdancing and the title. That might get best episode title if we had one.
And If we're going to choose a ridiculous cartoon, I would choose Spider-Woman over that.
I agree. I agree. No offense to a friend of the show, Tim,
Yeah.
who helped us out with the Transformers choosing the episodes. But I think in this case, I think Transformers will have to be content with honorary best episode title.
Yeah.
I think we can rule that one out.
So, Yogi, Miami Vice, Spider-Woman, Soap, Doctor Who.
What do you think about Yogi? I mean, again, the whole thing to me, it being out of season, it's tough to vote for it. And much as I loved all the characters being together, even Mark Evanier would and has admitted that it's not the best thing he's ever been involved with.
Yeah, I think I can eliminate that too. It's very fun though. And
It certainly is, yes.
okay, well, this is going to be painful to say as much as I love Spider-Woman, I think. Can we really call it outstanding? I mean, it's outstanding in its own way, but that would be tough to call it legitimately outstanding.
I agree, and I don't want to say too much more now, but I think the great thing about Spider-Woman, a great thing about that episode was that it made us watch more Spider-Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about the series was that so many other ones were like that.
Yes.
So it was great as far as setting things up, but I agree with you. I would eliminate that too.
Okay. So now it's just Miami Vice, Soap, or Doctor Who, right?
Yeah, for me, Soap. Boy, that was a great pilot as far as setting up the premise of the show. It's kind of tough now. One thing that we haven't talked about here is that was such an episodic show. It would be easier. It's easier to choose a pilot, and I think that's why we chose it to talk about rather than any random episode in the middle of the season. But it's often tough, I think, for us to single out an individual episode from something that has as much continuity episode to episode as Soap.
I think that's a really good point.
And I think that might come into play here a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the Miami Vice, good episode of Miami Vice, and had, I think, all or most of the hallmarks of Miami Vice.
Mm-hmm.
It had action, explosions, cocaine.
Yeah.
Musical montages.
Yes.
Cool clothes, at least one surreal scene, and at least one cool guest star.
Yeah, it had a little something extra to kick it up a notch from what you would expect from the series. So it had everything you'd want to see and then just a little bit more.
Yeah, and a guest star who would much later go on to better things in Richard Jenkins.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So I would say that's still in the running.
Yeah.
I mean, the Doctor Who feels to me like that's a classic set of Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of why we chose it. It was representative. I think a lot of Doctor Who people, and certainly Thomas being one of them, would point to that as being very representative and maybe the show at its best.
And important to its lore, as some people would say, right. Or its mythology. Yeah, I think it's at this point it's Doctor Who or Miami Vice for me.
I agree. Let's eliminate Soap.
Yeah.
And yeah, two really good ones here.
Yeah.
I think we enjoyed each of them. We enjoyed talking about each of them.
Yeah.
I think, boy, this is tough.
The only thing really I'm holding against Doctor Who, I guess, is because it was this multiple sequence of episodes. It felt long, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. It was like a 6-parter.
Right.
Now, there was a lot going on in there, too.
Yes.
Because there's that whole, war situation.
Right, yeah.
was going on at the time.
A lot of running and back and forth and things like that. But that's like holding it against Miami Vice that it's a show set in Miami.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just what the show is.
Right.
In this case, it's this series of episodes. So
yeah, the show almost always did that. I had multiple part episodes. I mean, in the end, is it fair, or am I just using this as an excuse to make a decision that the Doctor Who had 6 episodes to Miami Vice is 1, if you want to look at it technically.
Right. Well, I think it's a unique situation. But I think if we had a 2-parter, we would consider both parts as 1, right?
Yes, I think so.
And there was a movie and a Christmas special in here, so there's some room to play. I'm leaning Doctor Who, but I'm okay with Miami Vice.
Yeah, it's tough to distinguish because both, I think, are excellent representatives of their series. I think they both stand as quality entertainment. It's just tough to find anything to disqualify either one.
Right.
I mean, and they're both they're both quality and entertaining, but you could sort of make critiques about it coming at it from different angles for different reasons. I mean, there's certainly elements of Doctor Who that might seem dated, although, I'd hate to say that. And there's elements of Miami Vice that are, cliched or not necessarily prestige television as we'd consider it today.
Yeah.
But for our purposes, it's tough. I think they both achieved what they were going to do. I think we love both of them. I think we should maybe go Doctor Who on this.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like which one would I want to sit down and watch again right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I might say the Doctor Who, but it's tough though.
Yeah, I might too. I'm more interested in watching more of those right now than I am in Miami Vice.
Yeah, and part of it is sort of the recency bias of having discovered Doctor Who more and also having seen a lot of the Miami Vices already. But I think there's something to that for the purposes of this award. I think it's legitimate the fact that we both kind of think that.
Okay. So that leads us into Outstanding Series.
Oh my goodness.
Cheers on that, right? Last time.
Yes, no surprise. Best series was Cheers. So for this, we're basically stripping out the one-offs, the specials, the movies, and that leaves us the series that we covered. And just to go down those, it's Miami Vice and Doctor Who, 321 Contact, Head of the Class, What a Country, The Beachcombers, Murder She Wrote, Spider-Woman, Soap, and The Transformers.
Yeah, and I think we can just narrow it down to the same few again, right?
Okay, Beachcombers is gone.
Yeah.
What a Country is gone. Head of the Class is gone.
Yeah.
321 Contact gone.
Yeah. Transformers.
Transformers gone. Spider-Woman gone.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, Lori, will be disappointed at some of these Spider-Woman decisions, but I think she'll understand.
Yes, I'm sure she will. I know she made a tough decision in the Outstanding Jessica's category.
Yes,
so
that's right. It was an agonizing one.
Yeah.
We should eliminate Soap.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's a good show, and I went on to kind of tear through that first season. But
Yeah.
Murder She Wrote, boy, I'm having a lot of fun watching it, as everybody knows. But do I really think it's the outstanding series in this group?
Right.
Hard to say.
I would leave it in contention.
Yes, on the one hand, it's the show that right now, for various circumstances, that I'm actually watching more of than the others.
Yeah.
Part of it is because, other circumstances and everything, and availability, things like that. But Murder, She Wrote, I think you put it perfectly earlier when you said that, Murder, She Wrote, there's not a lot of variance in it.
Right. It is a consistent show, which is its appeal, really, but
there's not as many lows. The lows aren't very low. The highs might not be as high. But like now, Miami Vice had some down points.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Right, it has some things in common with Soap. Right, isn't there a UFO episode?
Miami Vice, yes, there is. Believe it or not,
maybe I do need to watch that one.
There's zombies. Well, there's like voodoo.
Yeah.
Now, we kind of focused on the first couple of seasons of Miami Vice.
Right, yeah.
And not so much some of the later seasons, which people might consider a little weaker. But to be fair, now, Doctor Who.
Right.
We kind of zeroed in on one aspect of Doctor Who, although we talked about the other ones.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is almost too massive for me to consider for this.
I know. So portions of it, of course, it started in the 60s, so we wouldn't be including those in our thoughts. And I think the original run ended in the early 90s, so we wouldn't be including those or the revitalized version. But it's a lot to take in, and we haven't seen as much of that. Like, even if we just said the fourth Doctor, maybe we could narrow it down there. But even that's a lot. I mean, he did the most episodes of anyone.
Now, there is some precedent for that because we've done a couple of shows that I think we plan to revisit in the future are MASH and Cheers.
Yes.
And if and when we get to those again, I think we will put them back in the category.
Right.
Like that era of MASH or that era of Cheers, correct? So
yeah.
So when we talked about it, we didn't necessarily say, I mean, we kind of talked about Doctor Who as a broad show and then focused on Tom Baker, but...
So I guess conceivably we could go back and talk about other doctors.
Right.
I don't know that we're going to, but we could.
Yeah. For the purposes of this, though, I think just the broad scope of it, I'm kind of looking at it more as a larger show than just the Tom Baker show. And it seems hard for me to distinguish it because I don't see it as quite the same thing as Cheers or MASH, for example. So I would probably eliminate Doctor Who.
Yeah. Does that just leave us with Miami Vice at this point?
Well, Miami Vice and Murder, She Wrote if we didn't eliminate that.
Yeah. In that case, Miami Vice changed television and had that effect on pop culture. Murder, She Wrote is part of pop culture, but I don't know that it changed anything. Well, it sort of brought back that type of mystery show. I think those had gone away for a while, right? I mean, there were sort of the Magnum kind of shows, the more slightly hard-boiled shows.
Yeah, the
cozy mystery or even just the idea of a aging actor settling into that kind of role had gone away for a while.
Yeah, I think there was more like the intrigue mystery. Like, so the cozy mystery kind of went into a different direction with things like Moonlighting or Remington Steele or Heart to Heart.
Right.
Or like the action mystery with like Riptide or not mystery, but you know what I mean, like or Simon and Simon, those kind of shows. Murder She Wrote definitely seems like a kind of a throwback in some ways, and something that was probably still going on in the UK.
Right. Yeah. And then we got Matlock and Diagnosis Murder.
Yes, and Father Dowling Mysteries,
and probably a few other attempts at things like that.
Well, we haven't talked a lot about our 2 to 11-year-old demographic so far yet, and I think that they would probably be more intrigued by Miami Vice.
Yeah, the 2 to 11-year-olds do love cocaine.
What? Well, Angela Lansbury is an icon to the 2 to 11-year-old set.
I bet she is. Yeah.
Because of being in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And because of, watching the show with their grandmothers when they were growing up, possibly.
Or just thinking their grandmother is on TV.
Yeah. Just think how many people's plans were changed because they had to shut everything down in order to be home and watch CBS Sunday night at 8 p.m. So the show is very influential.
Before Murder, She Wrote, Sunday night was the night everyone went out.
That's right. That's right. They would watch football.
And then
do this stuff, and then go out and party afterwards.
Yeah. So, do we reward influence or do we reward consistency? I think that's kind of what it's down to. And
I agree. It comes down to one thing. I mean, well, we're voting with our hearts and we're voting in good faith, but we're also voting with an eye towards history. It's tough for me to pick Murder, She Wrote in this case over Miami Vice. It just seems like Miami Vice more epitomizes something. I don't know. It seems like Miami Vice should be the one in my book. Murder, She Wrote was a delightful surprise. It's fun to watch, but outstanding series.
Right. And isn't consistency the hobgoblin of something?
Yes.
Little Minds or something.
The foolish hobgoblin of Peter Parker.
Oh, all right.
After the Green Goblin, something or other.
Yeah.
We got it in there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So, Miami Vice.
At its peak, Miami Vice was a great show, and it's always entertaining. I think we should go with Miami Vice here.
Okay. Wow. So we're at the end of the categories, but of course we have this one last category.
A very special category.
Yes. Named after patron saint of the show, Robert Pine, the Robert Pine Genius Award.
Yes, Robert Pine, my longtime listeners will know, is the only recipient to actually personally receive his Genius Award.
Well, I mean, technically he didn't win the Genius Award because we didn't, but he got a BATTY, official BATTY for his as best actor, best male performance.
Yes.
But it did also include a thank you for inspiring the Genius Awards, which didn't start till season 2 of the podcast. But the idea of the award is to award someone who always gets us interested in what they're doing, who brings something unique to what they're doing, is maybe not as recognized as other people. So Robert Pine, of course, is a character actor. And in the past, we've given it to other character actors, including Marjo, who we mentioned. Who won it last season?
Last season was Ed Flanders from St. Elsewhere.
That's right, yeah. And this season, I guess we're expanding the definition of the award.
We are, yes.
And we're batting ideas back and forth. And Rick actually suggested this one. I had thought it and I guess chickened out of suggesting it. Possibly just forgot that I had thought it in the moment. So I will let him announce the award and maybe give an explanation for it a little bit. And I'll follow up on that.
Wow, I am honored, and as we're honored to celebrate excellence in all its forms. And yes, this may be a little bit of an unconventional choice, but I think it's appropriate because this recipient showed unconventional genius. And with that, I am pleased to announce that the Season 7 recipient of the Robert Pine Genius Award is Jeffrey Scott, who we consider the single creative force behind Spider-Woman, the classic animated series that we discovered on Disney Plus. That series gave us more joy, pound for pound, maybe than anything else that we discussed this year. Yes, maybe even including the rap from the What a Country episode. But Jeffrey Scott was the writer who gave us so much to deal with. I mean, I think, Mike, that you would agree that when you're dealing with pyramids and aliens in the same episode,
yes,
or movie monsters and things, everything in the same episode, there's a certain level of, I can only describe it as genius.
Yeah, ability to throw the kitchen sink into every episode, and yet seemingly keep coming up with more weird things to come in to throw in there. And this guy, he worked on, it seems like, every cartoon in the 70s and 80s, and he's still working.
Amazing.
But, some of his other credits include developing the Muppet Babies cartoon.
Wow.
And according to IMDb, he wrote 40 episodes. I don't know how many. There were 107, and he wrote 40 of them. He worked on DuckTales and Tailspin and Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling.
Um.
Oh, he developed that one, too. The Littles cartoon, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. He wrote a lot of those.
And he was involved in Super Friends, right?
Super Friends, yeah.
He wrote a lot of the Super Friends episodes.
Yeah. He also wrote an episode of The Powers of Matthew Starr.
Wow.
And, the 80s Spider-Man cartoon. That explains a lot. Including, I know, one of your Lizards Everywhere.
I think that was one of my favorite episodes of that, yeah.
Captain Caveman. Yeah, various iterations of the Super Friends.
This resume is a huge part of, our childhoods of 1970s and 1980s Saturday mornings. I mean, he was all over the place.
He really was. And as we recently discovered, he wrote a Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin, which is a theatrical movie. a kind of wacky Star Wars ripoff. So, yeah. And I'm, of course, not against rewarding a writer.
Of course
Why
not.
should it just be actors? We're talking about all of TV. The point being, this guy has so many ideas. How can we not reward him? And just for that Spider-Woman episode alone.
He has a certain disdain for internal logic and external logic that, rewards a viewer who's in the right mind for it, I think. I mean, there's so many things like, I mean, we're not even talking about like continuity, like episode to episode continuity. Forget that. We're talking about like within episode continuity. Yes, scene to scene. Mike, one thing that stands out to me too is Jeffrey Scott is actually somehow younger than I would expect.
Oh.
It looks like he's 68 years old.
Okay.
And I mean that's certainly older than Andy Griffith when he made Pray for the Wildcats.
Right.
But for a guy that's was making so much television in the 1970s, so he was in his 20s, pretty young when he was working on a lot of this stuff.
All that energy, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I can't do that math. But you said his 20s. That's enough.
Yeah.
So he's born in 52. Okay, so yeah.
Spider-Woman was what, 1979?
78, I think.
Okay, so he'd be 20, 26, 27.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there's been a theory that Major League Baseball players peak at age 27. And it's quite possible that Jeffrey Scott peaked at 27 when Spider-Woman hit the airwaves.
It's possible, and yet he kept going.
He did, and he brought the world so much other joy.
There are shows, like there's a new Muppet Babies, so, he gets some credit on that. And Sheldon, which appears, it must be about a turtle.
Yeah, I think Sheldon might be one of those Ion Kids ones, maybe, or
what are that, Cubo?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it sounds familiar. I'm wondering what Monta in the Odd Galaxy is. Seems like that's one of his more recent credits, but he seems equally adept at working with licensed properties and original concepts.
Yeah. The story began in the heavenly cosmic kitchen where Monta was assistant to the supreme chef, helping him whip up planets and stars in the awesome celestial oven.
There you go. Let me also give another shout out to our Facebook group. I think John was one of the ones that was on board with Spider-Woman from the get-go, right? And we had some good discussion there and had a good time. Just go back and listen to our Spider-Woman episode, and you can hear how much we love that. But that was just such a pleasant surprise, just how much fun it was to watch. And
yeah,
we really did get a kick out of that. And whatever contribution Jeffrey Scott made, and it seems to be massive. Because Spider-Woman wasn't like a huge legacy character that had been around. So I guess he had kind of probably a little bit of an open canvas, and he threw a heck of a lot of paint on that canvas, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Now, I mean, I think we speculated that maybe he had like Stan Lee threw out some ideas and he just ran with them, but we don't know, and for sure. And animation credits, especially back then, sometimes could be a little confusing.
True.
Like, they might just have the same credits every time.
Right. I think one of the best things you can say is that if there's something cool you think you'd like to see in a superhero cartoon, it was probably in that one season of Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
Somewhere or other.
All right. I mean, IMDb says that he wrote 15 episodes, or 16 episodes, which I think there are only 16 episodes, so.
That sounds right.
Yep.
That sounds right. But what a 16 episodes.
Yes. Well, final congratulations to him and all the winners. And I think we should wrap things up here.
I think so. Congratulations. It seems like NBC did well, and Miami Vice, of course, did well. A lot of great performances celebrated. I'd highlight again Andy Griffith standing out to us. Some great facial hair. Marjo, again, what an achievement for a Genius Award winner to come back and win. Maybe Jeffrey Scott will somehow be there again. It might be difficult for him, but
right.
I want to thank everybody for voting on the 2 Listeners' Choice Awards, and hopefully we'll expand the vote a little bit next time. But in the meantime, come join us everywhere on social media and come along with us, and we'll make it worth your while. And we've got a lot more to come, folks.
That's right. Season 8 coming relatively soon. All right, enjoy, and we're going to get back to our normal time zones here.
Yes, we do have a way out of this, right?
Yeah, our benefactor said he would take us home.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and everyone else too. Everyone's going to get back to where they need to be.
That's very sporting of these powers to be, yes.
Yeah, all right.
This episode brought to you by Season 8 of Battle of the Network shows. Coming soon. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network shows.